Fox Sports welcomes you to one of the greatest scenes in NASCAR, Talladega Superspeedway, the lengthiest and wildest track on the circuit. Before we go racing, let's rock and roll with Toby Lightman.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, and DW will be with us here in the Hollywood Hotel.
If we can get his head back in the door.
In just a moment. You came to see DW dance and sing. They had a pretty good duo, those two make.
Kind of remind me of Captain Tennille.
That ship. I don't. All right, so we're going to go racing today. It's more than just a race here. It's a happening, and the storylines are many. This is the 9th race of the season. We have a lot to cover at our expanded pre-race show. Let's check in with our team of pit reporters, starting with Dick Berggren.
I'll talk with a guy who has won more NASCAR races this year than anybody else, Kyle Busch.
It's been 70 races between wins for the sport's most popular driver, but an Earnhardt has been to victory lane 15 times here at Talladega. Will Junior Nation have something to cheer about today?
In the past, when Jeff Gordon needed a big momentum-building victory, he could always count on Talladega. Today, different paint scheme. We'll talk to him and see if he can continue those winning ways.
In the desert, he ended Hendrick's winless drought. But why is Jimmie Johnson a Junior fan at Talladega? I'll talk to Johnson.
Thanks, Krista and gang. Here's what's ahead on the show. An expanded pre-race. Tony Stewart, the guy everybody wants to hear from. He'll join us live before he hops in his car. It's been a strange, funky season so far. Darrell Waltrip will help us with the highs and the lows. Junior wheeling and dealing off the track. He'll give us a tour of his new nightclub. Carl Edwards on the fast track, but he slowed down just enough to talk with us at DW. Before the big one might hit today, the driver's hit list reveals their worst and toughest injuries. Jeff got a shiny new pit box with enough monitors to keep an eye on Darrell at all times. And we'll take to the track in the pit zone. Remember, it's our expanded pre-race show. We're glad you're with us for NASCAR on Fox. NASCAR on Fox, Talladega, a track of myth and legend, and of course, at the heart of Earnhardt Nation. Dale Sr. won 10 times. Junior trying to end that 70-race winless streak. He's got 5 career wins here. There is a chance of rain. So far, so good. The track is dry. The temperature in the 70s. A little humid outside, but the drivers are ready to race and roll. And from the Hollywood Hotel, from the stage with Toby Lightman and his NASCAR love, our own DW.
I mean, right now, he's a superstar. He can sing. He can dance. Can I have your autograph?
All right, well, we'll get to that later.
It's a little humid out there, I got to tell you.
Yeah, the hair looks good. It's holding up fine. Hey, Talladega, 4 out of the last 5 races. We've had a last lap pass to win the race, but it's what happens all before that fans want to know about.
Well, the hardest part of this race is the last lap. Who do I go with? Or do I hold, where do I want to be? Second, third? It's always the hardest part. Tony Stewart's run second here, 6 times?
A lot.
And you know, he could have easily won 6 races here if he had chosen a different way maybe at the end of the race. So it's that last lap that really is tough.
Well, you talk about the last lap. The key thing right there has to be the word they keep talking about in the garage here is disastrous. When you think about Talladega, it can happen in a minute. You take a look at what happened like yesterday to Dario Franchitti. Going along there, thinking about everything's going to be okay, and all of a sudden it's like, bam, it's all over. Watch this hard hit he's going to take in the driver's door. And because of that, I mean, how hard and how vicious can it be? He's out of today's race. I mean, this racetrack, you don't always worry about winning, Chris. Sometimes you got to worry about what you can lose here.
All right, David Strebe will replace Dario Franchitti with the broken left ankle in the 40 car. Jeff Gordon has won the last 2 races here, looking for his first win. But so far this year, controversy, Darrell, competition, confusion, and that's not this show. It's the quarter pole of the season, something you've been taking a closer look at.
Yeah,
yes,
I got my little camera out, and
okay.
I went out and I took a few pictures and a little review. Let's take a look at them.
After today's race, the season's a quarter over. Get it? A quarter over? Hey, work with me, folks. We started this season with Rocket Ryan Newman winning the 50th 500. But, man, we haven't heard a word from him since. The guy that won in California, he also won in Vegas and Texas. That's right, Carl Edwards. 3 wins, 3 backflips. If each backflip is 360 degrees, this guy's done a 1080. He looks like the cat to beat, but he's still not the top dog. It's the old man. No, not him. Him. Burton has 6 straight top 10s, including a win at Bristol. But to me, this guy here is the show. He gave Toyota a win. Last year, that would have been a pipe dream. And now he's trying to invent NASCAR's Triple Crown? I wonder if this guy is upset he got rid of him. I doubt it. Yeah, Hendrick may have had a slow start. This guy's had 3 DNFs, and he never seems to go 7 races without a win. But this guy's only 1 spot out of the chase, and he won at Phoenix. Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. The new guy on the team. Yeah. Only the sport's biggest driver, the one all the fans love. He's 3rd in points, best of the Hendrick bunch. I know, he hadn't won yet, but Dega just might be the place.
What a bonus. A picture and 1,000 words.
Yes, we're still counting. You're worth a million words with Darrell. You know, when I talk to drivers, they can't stop talking about the dominance of Carl Edwards this year in Roush Fenway Ford. Let's get some thoughts from upstairs with Larry McReynolds and Mike Joy.
Well, Chris, let's talk about the weekend so far. In yesterday's nationwide race, not 1 but 2 big grinding crashes. Here's the big one. Kevin LePage, number 61, is coming out of the pits. He believes he's up to race speed. He was wrong. Carl Edwards' car, the number 60, went up and over the back of LePage's, and when the dust had settled, 15 cars were involved.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing about it, Mike, this is a 500-mile race, and there's a lot of people that they have to be responsible here. Certainly the driver, knowing that this is a long race, there's a lot of pit stops. Not put yourself in a bad situation, especially in the early to middle part of the race. You know, we always see cars get banged into each other on pit road here. That's not the driver's necessarily responsibility. A lot is on the shoulders of that crew chief. Don't be afraid to tell your driver, as he's leading the pit box, stop. You can't go out there, you're going to hit another car. But to me, and I look at that wreck yesterday, big responsibility on the spotters. They're the other set of eyes for these drivers. These drivers, you know, they're in there with the head neck restraint device, the full face helmets. Those spotters, and they can't push the envelope. They need to play it a little bit on the conservative side, especially the early part of the race.
Both of yesterday's big wrecks probably were avoidable. Yesterday's race was won by Tony Stewart. Chris?
Thanks, Mike. Larry, 2-time champ Tony Stewart making headlines this weekend, not just because he's starting on the front row for the race today. He announced that he is going to explore all options when his contract with Joe Gibbs Racing ends after the 2009 season. He's already received offers, multiple offers from other teams that include possible ownership, and whether he remains with Gibbs or decides to move on, Tony is always worth listening to and watching work that magic behind the wheel.
Look at that orange number 20.
He's going to tell it like it is, whether you agree or disagree.
It was ridiculous. I'm sure somehow it was my fault. Sorry, I got in his way.
We're going to push the envelope here.
Tony's loving this.
Tony joining us down on the track before he gets ready to go racing. Tony was so comfortable watching Talladega Nights, the movie, just to loosen up for this big one today. Tony, we've heard a lot this week, and we appreciate your time. I know you got to focus on the race, but can you clarify your situation for fans out there that have heard a lot of things this week so now they can hear it directly from you?
Yeah, it's been a busy week when we got here on Thursday for nationwide practice. We had started working on my renegotiations with Joe Gibbs. I still have a contract through this year and through next year with JGR, and last fall they wanted to go ahead and start working on renegotiating my contract, and we chose to wait till the chase was over, and it's been a busy winter and started again this spring. But in the meantime, with the change to Toyota, it got General Motors all excited, and Chevy in particular real excited about trying to get us back in their camp, and since then, we've had talks with people in Ford camps and in Dodge camps, and still with Joe Gibbs Racing, obviously. But right now we're still with Joe Gibbs Racing, but we've got a lot of interesting offers on the table that have come up that are a little bit outside the normal box of contract negotiations. I mean, some of them have involved ownership, and it's something that it's made us kind of step back and think, is this something that we actually might be interested in?
Well, and Joe Gibbs, their statement is, hey, we want to keep you. We expect you to honor the contract. Real quick on this, what would be your priority in the next contract, regardless of who it's with?
Obviously the first thing, you just want to be competitive. I mean, there's no point in doing what we do every week if we don't feel like that we can go out and win every race that we're in. So, obviously there's nothing wrong at Joe Gibbs Racing. I mean, this wasn't a situation where we went out and started searching for different options. We've got all three of our teams in the top 10 in points, and Denny and Kyle both have won races, and I've won 3 Busch or nationwide races, and Kyle's won nationwide races for the organization. So, I feel like we're probably in the best situation we've ever been in as a team at JGR. It's just, we had some really unique offers that have come on the board, and, I feel like it's, just being smart to at least explore those options and see if any of them actually make sense for us.
Hey, Smoke, enough. Let's get off of that. Let's talk about today. What do you say? Let's talk about the race today, and let's make an assumption, knowing the history of this place. You get to the last lap of the race. You finished second 6 times here, I think it is. What could you do differently today? Have you ever... What has kept you from winning 6, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask you.
Well, I'm not sure that there's any one thing that's kept us from winning. I mean, one year, Bobby Hamilton, we were leading on the bottom line, and Bobby Hamilton's line on the outside just barely edged us down at the line, and we ran second. But a lot of those races, that we ran second here have been running with an unofficial teammate with Dale Jr. And as much as drafting and your partners around you play such a role, Dale Jr. and I always have been comfortable. And just like yesterday in the nationwide race, we probably ran over 50 or 60% of the race 1-2, whether he was leading and I was in second, or whether I was leading and he was in second. So, when you get in those situations, sometimes second at Talladega is almost as good as a win, because you know that it has to be a partnership to a certain degree to get yourself in that position.
Well, Tony, I want to say right quick, congratulations yesterday, winning from the pole in the Nationwide Series. Kind of broke a little bit of a jinx there and showed everybody the way home. But the key thing to me was when you come here to Talladega, you got the little short track across the road there. I saw Red Farmer. How about Eldora coming up here next month? I mean, in June. I mean, that's got to be also on your radar, at least right now.
Absolutely. I actually saw the car that Kevin Harvick's going to drive at the Prelude. It was over at the Talladega short track the last couple nights running, and a good friend of ours, Wendell Wallace, won the race last night. So, but that's always a high priority when we come to Talladega in the evenings. I like to run around the infield a little bit, but I definitely would never miss going over and seeing Red Farmer race at the short track across the street. So, I just hope I live to be as old as Red, let alone be as competitive as he is in a race car.
All right, well, have fun today. Good luck, and thanks, Tony, for your time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck, Smoke.
Yeah, have a good one.
Bring her to the house, buddy.
In the 20 car, Tony Stewart, you mentioned he's 0 for 18 here. Hasn't won at Daytona. He's won everything else, a 2-time champ. Could today be his day on this restrictor plate track?
I really think if you look at how the Toyotas are all qualified up near the front, Toyota seems to have a really good restrictor plate engine package. And with the history of JGR here at Talladega and Daytona, I'd say he's got a really good. I think it's going to come down to the same thing yesterday. He and his buddy.
And
again today.
He was watching the movie Talladega Nights. Will Ferrell starring in that movie, and of course Ricky Bobby, right?
He just wants to go fast.
That's it, go fast.
Our production assistant at Fox Sports, Chris Peasy, who's an important part of what we do. Who wrote that? No, he's about to star in Talladega Heartburn. Chris heard there's an all-you-can-eat section of the seats here at the track. It's legitimate, and before we could add a restrictor plate on him, he's over the grandstand with the fans. An $80 ticket get you all the food you can eat, plus your seat. You can watch the race and enjoy the food so far. Chris, how we doing? First of all, how much have you had to eat so far?
So far, I've had about like 6 hamburgers and about 6 or 7 hot dogs so far. 2 bags of chips.
And how long have you been there?
It's been about 45 minutes. We've been here since 11:30 Central Time.
Have you heard of pacing?
I'm trying, you know what I mean? But I'm trying to eat as much as I can in this time that they give me.
But Chris, you're supposed to eat it, not wear it. You're messing up your T-shirt.
Well, you know, it gets a little dirty out here when.
And just so people know, Chris, this is one of the bonuses of your job. Here, you're part of our production staff. Look, you even got your free Digger shirt. Now, what do you do for a living?
Well, usually I bring people like you to the airport.
All right. Okay. Print my boarding pass. Right. I'll do.
We violated Park Salmon's stuff out here.
That's it. No. All right. And so now, are you enjoying with the fans? Are other fans eating as much as you are?
Is everybody eating out here? Huh? Yeah. I mean, it seems like everybody's. We all got the bracelets. They'd be able to eat.
How, you know, you're supposed to. You ever go to Martinsville, eat those hot dogs? How many hot dogs do you think you could consume this afternoon?
I'm going to try at least 10 or 15.
Would that be ask the people around, what's the record?
What's the record out here? Anybody have a record for eating hot dogs? I don't know.
All right, Chris, we will. You keep eating.
Always know the
one
record,
thing right quick. Chris, if you need help, go see Frankitti's group. They got Tums as a sponsor.
I'll give them a call.
We'll check in with you in the fan section for $80 all you can eat throughout the course of the race. See if you can get your money's worth. All right, Chris
I'm not too sure about that.
One of the bonus parts of the job.
No.
Who are those people?
We're counting you down to the start of the race. We'll talk with Jimmy Johnson. We'll get that tour from Dale Earnhardt Jr. and talk to some of the other drivers. It's Talladega, and we're glad you're with us from Alabama. NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We'll pick you up. By McDonald's. Score something good for breakfast. Try the new McSkillet Burrito, only at McDonald's. By Goodyear. Innovative technology to help you get there. And by Camping World, the official RV and outdoor retailer of NASCAR. And the drivers getting ready to roll. More than 150,000 fans in attendance. And you have the best seat in the house here for NASCAR on Fox, and thanks for being with us. Jimmy Johnson tried for his 3rd straight championship, says he's benefited from having Dale Earnhardt Jr. as a Hendrick teammate. Johnson said that in the past, Earnhardt Nation ignored him during the intros for drivers, but now he sees people in 88 gear cheering him on, and they had a lot to cheer about after Jimmy's first win of the season 2 weeks ago. It came in Phoenix.
Hendrick Motorsports has yet to win this year.
We're in trouble.
Trust me, they'll be okay. That 48 car is by far the best car.
First win for Hendrick in 2008. Jimmy Johnson wins it.
I told you not to worry.
It is draft weekend. NFL made their picks, and when the draft is involved in NASCAR, well, your pick has to be Hendrick Motorsports. Jimmy Johnson, you and Jeff Gordon were 1-2 in both races last year. What is your secret at this track?
It's really about surviving. It's tough to really pull that off. I mean, I've been in the middle of things through the years here. It's just it's a tough thing, but you've got to survive. And we have great equipment, great stops, and all that stuff puts us in position. But you've got to miss the big wreck.
Well, Chris Myers was talking about it's already been a benefit to have Dale Jr. as a teammate, especially here at Talladega. What have you seen? What's the difference?
So far, it's been good. I haven't been flipped off as much. I haven't had as many beer cans thrown at me, but I truly hope to test that today, and I want to get this Lowe's Impala to victory lane. And at that point, we'll see if the beer cans come over the fence or not.
All right. It's good to have teammates, and here at Talladega, it's great when your teammate, I guess, is named Earnhardt.
All right. Thanks, Krista. And the last 4 races here have been won by Hendrick Motorsports. Here's the question. You got Dale Earnhardt Jr., you got Jeff Gordon coming down, their teammates, right? What's going to happen?
I don't know, but I can't wait. I hope it turns out that way.
Exactly.
I'd be up on my feet, up on my seat. I can tell you that.
And you throw in Jimmy Johnson, too.
It could be big, man.
Chris, we've been saying all along, everybody keeps saying, what's wrong with Hendrick? What's wrong with Hendrick? Everybody has stepped up against Hendrick. I mean, last year they had basically their way with this competition. And this year, everybody went home, did their homework, turned their programs around, and have really put pressure, I think, on Hendrick Motorsports. But you take a look right now, 3rd and 4th in the points, they're having a good, solid year.
Yeah, but you heard this in other sports, Darrell. Too many stars for one team. Is there enough of the football to go around or basketball? With this, I know it's a little bit different, but sometimes some guys get more attention than the others.
Well, I tell you, when you got superstar drivers, they don't really like to test. They want somebody else to go do the testing. I'm going to do, when the cameras come on and the lights are up, I'll be the guy behind the wheel. I think what Jimmy Johnson and Chad did is they went and tested together. They didn't send some substitute driver to go work on the car, and when we get it fixed, we'll call you. And I think that's what all those teams need to do. drive the car yourself. Because we've heard Jimmy and Chad say, and we've heard Stevie and Jeff say, they can't switch cars. They can't drive the same setup. So you got to have your driver driving your car with your crew chief to get the information.
Yeah, you got to beat people on your own individual deal. Stay focused on your team. Don't worry about what's going around you.
Good competition amongst themselves. If you have any questions, ask the pros. Built by the Home Depot at foxsports.com. You can talk to Tony Stewart, his crew chief Greg Zipadelli, or Daryl, Larry, Jeff. The NASCAR questions, personal questions. You get the answers 24/7. Go to foxsports.com/askthepros and built by the Home Depot. Joe Nemechek is on the front row. There's Elliott Sadler, who's ready to roll, and there's Junior as we're counting it down to the start of the race here on Fox. They'll be going fast at Talladega. That's not Kenny D and the Marquis Jet people. No, all right, but they do travel you safe. And they'll be hitting speeds of up to or approaching 200 miles per hour around this, the lengthiest track in NASCAR, 2.66 miles. In our AutoZone Pit Zone segment, Darrell Waltrip takes to the track. Now, he has 4 wins here at Talladega, and working with Jeff Hammond, he really knows his way around this place.
Well, folks, take a look here. How much have things changed in my world since I started crew chiefing? And now we have this huge pit box. I mean, you cannot talk enough about the mega box I'm sitting on top of right here. The AutoZone Pit Zone has never looked so good. Think about it like this. I've got 5 monitors up here. I've never been able to see around the racetrack like I can right now. I can sit here, I can talk to my car chief, I can talk to my timing and scoring guy, my fuel guy, my shot guy from the AutoZone Pit Zone. Just want to thank everybody at CZ Products, NASCAR on Fox for allowing us to have such a great thing. All right, well, let's go ahead and let's put you down a lap. Let it cut it loose. How's you feeling, Daryl?
Sucker feels good. It gets down in there. This track is really nice now, and you got a ton of grip.
I know what you're going to do this time. You're going to hold it wide open for me, huh?
I tell you, got a little too much speed getting in the corner for DW. She just takes your breath away on entry. I got to lift out a little bit and get myself settled in. She will go.
Woo! How about 47-14?
And Jeff Hammond enjoying that thing so much he might sleep down there. Okay.
47-14, but that's a crew chief's watch, by the way.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know if it's going that fast.
That's
or not,
yours.
I hope I wasn't.
Look, Jeff, look, see, Daryl, I think he does like that new pit box.
Look at that.
Now, he would interrupt our show and leave us hanging here.
That is a true track bar right there.
I think the track bar, I got some ideas. There's a way to make that even a little bit more like Jeff's house.
But guys, you got to understand something. I saw some dirt from that last shot, and I didn't like it. I mean, I'm really worried about this thing getting dirty, and I definitely don't want it to rain today.
You know, if you just remember what I always told you, work your hands and not your mouth, and you're doing a really good job. Just stay out there.
Jeff, you can come on up. Come on, we need you in the Hollywood Hotel. Now, don't pout. We want you to
not unless Daryl says he's sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's sorry.
All right, I'll come back.
Remember what happens on Sunday? We leave it here on
that's
that we forget on Monday.
Crew chief driver relationship that you guys
That's
have.
not the worst thing I've ever said.
I'm sure that, and the spotter we'll get to. Kyle Busch, there's some neat numbers on this, right? The Truck Series nationwide, he's second in points in the Cup Series. He's done well in all of them. He's raced exactly 2,686 miles so far, so he could drive from Charlotte to L.A. and probably do that very fast. His 23rd birthday is on Friday. A nice present might be a win here at Talladega because he's never finished up at the top 10 even in 6 tries, but he's had a terrific start, and the seat time has not affected him.
No, well, what I like is that's 3 different series, 3 different types of vehicles with 3 different crew chiefs. So it's talent. That takes a lot of talent. The thing he's done better this year than he's ever done before is he's staying out of trouble a little bit better. He's not getting in those precarious situations where he takes himself out of a race, and that's why he's doing as well as he's doing. He can run that kind of strategy today, he could be a winner.
He's never, it's never been done where somebody's won all the 3 series. Of course, they didn't have the Truck Series around as long nationwide, which used to be the Busch Series, but what are his chances of winning all 3 or even 2 out of 3?
You know, I'm a firm believer in kind of sticking to one thing. I think that the Cup Championship is a priority, and the others are kind of like, well, if I get a chance, I'll take it. But I think I'd stick to the Cup. He needs that first. Those others will come later.
All right. And, Jeff, you can step back in right now. We want to check in with our Galloping Gourmet production assistant, Chris Peasy, in that fan section. And I want to check the total. It says all you can eat. You don't have to eat the whole race. The race hasn't even started, Chris. Now, how much have you consumed so far? Well, he's eaten so much you can't even hear him. All right, those 12 hot dogs.
He is changing colors.
There you go. I'm sorry. How much have you eaten? There we go. We have a total of.
I'm about 12 hot dogs in, like 8 hamburgers in.
Now, So yeah, you've more than made up for the money. $80 and other fans could do that as we add up the total of not only the price but the calories. And
I want to think about that, really.
okay, and you still have a half hour before the start. Now your brother
Race for Pete's
I'm telling you. You got to have a stomach pump when it's all said and done.
What's he using as a napkin, Daryl? With the
it's a shop towel.
No, it's what? Can you hold that up? Is that one of those towels from DWStore.com?
Because I can't. DW Store, go baby.
You can also get a boogity shirt or a Digger shirt.
Hey, I'm glad to be able to use it for something good.
Hey, Chris, you got the gig. No need to kiss up, all right? Your brother's a big TV star in Philadelphia. Right, we're going to upstage him. All right, we're going to check back with him. For $80, that's not a bad deal. We should get out there.
I'm thinking about heading over there.
All right. We're counting you down to the start of the race. 188 laps.
Go over and get some leftovers.
Turmoil at Talladega.
I'm not talking to you after what you said
Daryl and Carl Edwards will talk about the great season that the 99 has had so far. What kind of chance do they have today against this guy and crew?
I'd say wager on that 31 car.
Jeff Burton, he has owned his game today.
A thinking man's racer.
These are the point standings as we race number 9. Jeff Burton leading his biggest points lead of the season. In fact, all 3 Richard Childress racers are in the top 12. Junior, 3rd place, best he's been. No driver fell out of the top 12 in the last race. Jeff Gordon, 13th. Remember, he's won at Talladega 6 times, including both races here in 2007. And Jeff is with our Matt Yoakum.
Most drivers can't look to Talladega as a place to use as a springboard to gain some momentum or score that season's first victory, unless your name is Jeff Gordon, winning 4 of the last 8 races here. But for you, what's the biggest question mark going into today's race?
We're starting 20th, so we're middle of the field, and it's just, whether or not we want to fight hard to try to get to the front, because you can go front to back so fast and so easily, and early on it's just a question of how hard you want to push it. Guys are getting pretty racy out there in practice. A lot of bump drive through the corner, so we want to stay away from that. But I gotta say thanks to Pepsi and Pepsi Stuff for being on board the DuPont Chevrolet this weekend. They're a great sponsor, and there's a lot of cool stuff. You go to PepsiRacing.com. Matter of fact, I think today free MP3 download. So get on there and check it out. Got a cool fast race car today. We'll just see if we got the right place, the right time at the end.
And keeping that trend of a different paint scheme, he had a different paint scheme both races at Talladega last year, went to victory lane, and today, Chris, it's a special California rat rod look, flat black. It just doesn't have the red wheels, but it looks pretty killer.
It's sharp looking. Thanks, Matt. He's won. Jeff Gordon's won from the pole here. He's won from 36. So what does that tell you about this race, this track?
Well, I think Jeff pretty much summed it up. He's already said you can go from the back to the front pretty easily, but the key thing is for him, he's in the middle. He's got to make a decision pretty quick. He's going to move forward or is he going to drop back? And you got some other guys that are high in the points that are way in the back, like Kevin Harvick, and our leader, Jeff Burton. What are they going to do? Are they going to sit back there and ride around together and keep their nose clean? What exactly style of race are we going to see today?
Jeff Gordon couldn't be starting in a worse spot. I mean, you're right in the middle, and early in these races, that's right where the trouble is. So he's really got to, I think he'll go the back, because he did that here last year. He and Jimmy Johnson both fell to the back. I think that would be the smart thing to do early on, because it gets real crazy right there where he is.
Yeah, the eye of the storm
right
there.
Eye of the storm, man. You get sucked up in it, and no fault of your own.
Yep. Whatever Carl Edwards has to do, he's admitted, with his 3 wins this year, that the Roush Fenway, they don't focus as much on the restrictor plate races like here and certainly Daytona, but he's had a lot of success all the way around.
Yeah, well, I interviewed him 3 years ago at Atlanta before he won his first race. He won that weekend, and I got a chance to talk to him here the other day down here at Talladega, and it's amazing the changes he's gone through and the wins he's had. He's a fun guy. I love him to death. Let's see what he had to say.
Well, you know what? I was looking at a interview we did 3 years ago, and you hadn't won a race yet, but it was the weekend that you won your first race at Atlanta. A lot's changed in 3 years.
I didn't realize that interview we won that. Why haven't you done more?
Well, I haven't had to. You've done it yourself. What's been the biggest thing that you've seen that's changed in your life?
Actually, have money in my bank account now, so I'm not borrowing money from all my buddies and wearing my mom out, stressing my family out. So it's amazing that in this sport we can make a living at it.
I remember you 3 years ago, no contract, no future. Here we are 3 years later, and you're the hottest guy in the sport. How are you handling that?
Well, that reminds me of a story when Jack first gave me the contract, Jeff Smith and Jack sent me this contract. I mean, I never had a contract for anything. And I looked at it, and I read through it, and I called Schrader, you know, and I said, what do you think I ought to do? He said, he thought for a second. He said, why don't you just lay that contract next to all the other ones you got and just decide which one's the best? I was like, I got you, Kenny. I'll sign that one.
I know what to do.
So,
you think you'll stay at Roush? You got to, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I will. You think you'll stay there?
I'll put it to you this way. Jack and I have a really good relationship, and he's an amazing guy, and I hope that's what ends up happening.
Great. I love talking to Carl. He's so enthusiastic. But have you ever seen him do a burnout?
No.
No. You know why? He does backflips, and he doesn't want to tear up the man's engine. He said, I know how much it costs to rebuild them.
That's smart. Way to save on energy and fuel, right? It was Earth Day this past week. We invite you to play AT&T's Fantasy Racing Challenge. Text the car number you think will win to 22558. Play all season long, and you could win $31,000 or other great prizes. It's been a streak-busting year. Ryan Newman went 81 without a win and then won at Daytona. Kyle Busch went 34. Jeff Burton went 33 without a win. Dale Earnhardt Jr. sitting on 70 without a win. Almost 2 years since his last win. Is he the guy today, or will be one of these guys? We'll find out shortly. You can get your Digger shirt. Hey, is that Sabrina? I know it. You can go to foxsports.com, keyword Digger, or dwstore.com. I'll explain later. The T-shirt's also available at the 88 merchandise trailers as you visit the tracks each week. Get your Digger T-shirt. Now, just to be, Chris Devoto said it's not fair. Come on, you got the good-looking girls wearing the shirts. What about the guys? So for equal time, guys can look cool, and no matter who you are, how you are, that is Drano, one of our esteemed camera operators, and Big Mike, who helps get things.
Shirts to fit all sizes
and shapes.
I think they've been hanging out with Chris Peasy in that all-you-can-eat stand.
All you can eat. That's what happens to you right there. No question about it.
All right. Well, I don't know if those shirts were designed by Giorgio Armani or Amani Toomer. You can catch the Giants, by the way, second week of the NFL season on Fox. We promote because we care. Time for NASCAR news and notes. This week, officials from Roush Fenway Racing admitted to having a conversation with IndyCar driver Danica Patrick as recently as 2 weeks ago. Remember, Danica won in Japan, her first victory in 50 tries. Congrats. She might eventually join NASCAR, at least the discussion taking place. A.J. Allmendinger, back of the 84 today, missed the past 5 races. Red Bull Racing had replaced him with veteran Mike Skinner. He qualified well. He'll start in the 4th position today. Way to go, A.J. And April Autism Awareness Month, a walk for the event was held. Artie Kempner traveling to Qatar. He's our director for NASCAR and Fox and for the NFL. And they had an international forum on kids with special needs to help out those in need of help for autism. Time now for Gas and Go, and with gas prices today, it's...
I'm tensing up already.
It's solar power and go.
I got this figured out.
All right, you ready?
We're going to gas up, and he's going to go.
Pay attention. You have the clock to work with, Daryl. Here we go. And nobody knows the contents of these questions.
Or your mind.
We saw, there's not much there. We saw some surprises in qualifying. Nemechek, Schrader starting up front. What chance realistically do they have to win in today's race?
Well, those guys had qualifying packages, qualifying setups, light fluids, engine jacked up, everything. Their race was to get in the race. It would be unrealistic to think that one of those guys could pull off a win today. I'm just glad that their race was to get in, and they made it.
All right, part of the show. Jeff, should we expect guys who did well at Daytona to do well here today? Restrictor plate?
I think so. I think whenever you think about a guy who's good at restrictor plate racing, it doesn't make any difference whether it's Daytona or Talladega. Take, for example, Ryan Newman, won Daytona, finished very well, or 2 top 10 finishes here at Talladega, so you got to believe guys like that know how to move around in traffic.
All right, of course, Ryan Newman came through at Daytona. Daryl, this is not a great track for Jeff Burton, but can he stay hot? Can he hold on to the points lead? He was 43rd in the last Talladega race.
Yeah, and you know what? You can't drive cautiously here. You can't drive conservatively here. You can't worry about wrecking here. You have got to go out there and drive that car right up in the middle, 3 wide. You got to try to go to the front, and you got to try to win. If you do anything else, you'll get in trouble.
All right, very well. You're shrugging. You disagree?
He never talked like that when he was driving for me.
We're talking about Jeff Burton.
Yeah, we're not talking about him. All right, Jeff, we've seen an influx of the open-wheel drivers into NASCAR, but they're not exactly dominating here. What do you think about Danica, Patrick, realistically coming into NASCAR?
That he asked you that?
Well, I might ask you next, so don't go away.
All she has to do is do like everybody else does, come over here and try it out. I think Dario Franchitti Right here, Juan Pablo Montoya shows you it can be done, Sam Hornish, but it's not an easy hill to climb for anybody. So I'm not going to say she can't, but it's definitely going to be a
Darrell,
task.
should she at least try it?
Well, you know, I said yesterday in our practice show, I thought I'd like to see her try one of our races just to see how she liked it. But I don't think I would if I were her. I'd
send her to Bristol?
Stick to what I know.
Okay.
That's my advice.
All right, so let's go to this one. 4. Is this for Jeff or Darrell? This is for both of you. Okay. We had the draft.
Toss up.
They're drafting from New York to Talladega, the NFL draft this weekend. So who'd be your #1 overall pick if you're starting a team today with today's drivers?
Well, you asked me that before, and it's Carl Edwards. I love his enthusiasm, plus his contract's up. And so I might be able to get him.
You'll negotiate.
Well, I know another guy right now that's available. I'd love to have him driving for me, and that's Tony Stewart.
Sure.
He's the kind of guy who's got charisma. He's got a lot of, I guess you might say, heart.
What if you were picking a crew chief first out of those that were active?
Combination right now, I go right back to Greg Zipadelli.
Oh, no, I'd take
He's
Hamlin.
not active.
I'm not active. I'm inactive.
No, okay. Who'd you go with?
I would take Chad Knaus. I love Chad. I love the way he works. I like the way he thinks. He's a gambler.
Okay.
He goes for it.
And still on the clock.
Especially after last week.
Yeah. Congratulations to Chris Long, his dad Howie. He's a pretty good broadcaster, the Hall of Famer. Chris drafted in the NFL draft, the second overall pick, going to the Rams. We're happy for him and the family.
Got another son that's a left-hander, pretty good too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. He's got a family full of talent. We'll continue. NASCAR on Fox from Talladega. We're getting ready for the race. The fans are gearing up, and so is Dale Earnhardt Jr., a tour of his new nightclub. Stick around for that.
Jim Hunter.
At Talladega, before every race, one of the unique things here in NASCAR, all the drivers gather to go over rules and talk about the race, the challenge at hand. And, of course, one of the discussions, safety, respecting each other on this very dangerous track where we've had a wreck of 27 cars involved. That was 5 years ago. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won 5 Cup races here at Talladega, including 4 in a row at one stretch. But Dale is still the most popular driver in the sport. He's a conglomerate on a roll. And while there was no race last week, Jr. was busy opening his own nightclub in downtown Charlotte. And he was nice enough to take some time to give us an exclusive tour of Whiskey River.
How you doing? Welcome to the bar. This is Whiskey River. Let's take a look around. This is sometimes used as a dance floor. If we have an act here, obviously this is where they'll be. Up here you can get a lot of people dancing. We got cameras on the crowd as they're dancing. If you like seeing yourself on camera, there you go. Big guitar, kind of fits with the theme here. The DJ booth, if you want to check it out. DJ comes back in here. He's got 2 tracks, one each locked in on here, one ready. This will be playing, this will be the next one coming, so you can blend in and out of songs. All right, let's go check out the VIP. If you come to Whiskey River, where's the best seat in the house? Well, it's right here. This is booth #1 in the VIP. It's got the orange couch, and this is where I'm always at if I'm here. We got the cowhide backs to the chairs, the tables and whatnot, and the booth itself. You got places for the girls or to put their valuables, or the guys to put their wallets or whatever if you want to do that. This is my spot. So you need to get the hell out of here. We're going to move out of the VIP room. We'll go to the main bar. This is the main bar. This is where most everybody's hanging out. Busiest place in the whole bar. One of the more interesting and expensive features in our bar is the fiber optics on the main bar's countertop. Now, these things change colors during the song and go with the beat of the song too, so you can tune it to do basically whatever you want. One of the cooler parts about our theme here in design are the belt buckles. All these belt buckles along the bar, you'll find those located in all kinds of areas in the bar. All right, the last part of the bar I'm going to show you is where we have the buck and bull. All right, this is one of my favorite parts of the bar. You can come up here, sit down, have a seat, watch some of your friends ride the mechanical bull. It's always a lot of fun. There's also cameras on the bull, so the other people in the bar can see who's riding, or joking and laughing, seeing somebody get thrown off the bull. Doesn't get any better than that. You know, we did a lot better than I thought we would right out of the gate. We had one point led the series in top 10 finishes. Hopefully it's just a matter of time before we start getting some wins of our own, but I'm glad that Hendrick itself is in victory lane on any given weekend. It doesn't really bother me that people talk about the streak, to win the streak. That doesn't really get under my skin. People will underestimate my ability to handle that type of stuff and deal with that stuff. I work hard, I do my job. I'm able to move that out of the way and think about my job in front of me and do it until Rick tells me I need to do it differently or do something different, change this or change that. I reckon I'm doing what he wants me to do.
Well, Whiskey River's in Charlotte, North Carolina, but this is Talladega, Alabama. Sweet home for you, a 5-time winner here. Dale, can you hear the fans when you take the lead at this racetrack? Are you aware of how hard they pull for you?
Yeah, I can see them getting excited and getting on their feet when we come off the 2 over there and come down the front straightaway if we're trying to get the lead or whatever. But we're going to try to make it happen today. We got a good car and qualified well, so we'll try to get to the front as fast as we can. Got to take care of our stuff, have some good pit stops, and we'll hope my guys have a safe day on pit road, and we'll try to put together something pretty cool here today.
Speaking of cool, thanks for the tour of Whiskey River.
Absolutely, thank you.
Chris.
All right, Steve, you'll be comped, by the way. In the 8 races, Junior's led 355 laps so far this year, the most of any driver who has yet to win a race. But certainly his dad would be proud of what he's been able to accomplish, and not only on the track, but away from it.
Yeah, his dad used to run a little bar over in Kannapolis over there. Every time he win a race or win a championship, they'd have a celebration. I think that maybe Junior was around at the time. So, yeah, he'll be the man to beat. He'll be one of the men to beat today. Get in the right place, he can win.
But the key thing right now, guys, is the way I look at it, Junior is expanding as far as he's got JR Motorsports that he and Rick Hendrick are partners on. He's got Hammerhead Productions. There's so many things that this driver that he's getting off into. It's not just racing, and I think he's doing an excellent job of it between he and his sister. I think they're really building quite an empire.
Yeah, I don't feel good about that bull, though.
Speaking of expanding, let's check in, Chris Peasy, the $80 all-you-can-eat in the seating here. It ends in a few moments.
You feel good about the bull. I don't feel good about this.
I don't either.
What's your total so far, Chris? Oh, there you go. 15 hot dogs?
Yeah, we're about 15 hot dogs, about 9 or 10 hamburgers.
Yeah, we could have used you in gas and go there a little bit ago.
Hey, I got gas and I got to go. You know what I mean?
Wow, you did well a few moments ago. Right? Oh, well, you're doing well
I got
now.
friends now. You know,
so you got
perks of the job.
That's one of the perks. And all right.
He's
They obviously think
she's feeding him.
I think you got money. That's what it is.
I hope that was baked.
Yeah, not at $12 an hour. He's not got any money.
There are all you can eat.
It's actually 14 for all you ladies out there. Right?
All you can eat buffets are closing everywhere. Enjoy the race, Chris. Now get back to work, darn it. We appreciate Chris Peasy being a good sport. Let's hope stomach-wise he's okay the rest of the way. You got to head up to the broadcast
I'm heading to the back straightaway.
Daryl heading up to the booth with Larry and Mike, getting ready to call the race. Jeff will stay here with me with the cutaway car.
I have to?
You have to. At the Hollywood Hotel, we're going to watch and enjoy. It's NASCAR on Fox from Talladega. NASCAR on Fox, and nothing better than a big crowd at a big race. Juan Pablo Montoya and family gearing up for the race today. So let's head trackside for opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the Alabama Army National Guard presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Dr. Richard Alford of the Alabama Raceway Ministries offers today's invocation.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for being able to be here for a great day of racing. Father, we ask you to keep the track dry till the end of the race. We pray for safety, for the drivers, for the crews, for the NASCAR and the Talladega Superspeedway officials and workers. We also pray out of concern, Father, for our troops wherever they serve and for the law enforcement workers who all work together to keep us safe. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome platinum recording artist and American Idol winner, Taylor Hicks.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Alabama's own Taylor Hicks, America's racing idols, are on stage next. "43 drivers, even with restrictions, competing at nearly 200 miles per hour, can make for a most dangerous day. Drivers survive it. We talked to them about it in this week's hit list. What's the worst injury you've ever suffered?
There.
What happened?
Right there.
Oh, on the chin. Okay,
Yeah.
a little scar there.
I bit through it.
When was that?
Michigan, 1992. I had a date with Buffy that night, and I never showed up. And she didn't know. She thought I just was mean. But actually, I was in the hospital.
In an IRL crash in Vegas in '96, and broke my hip, my pelvis, my collarbone, and shoulder blade all in the same wreck.
I don't know if you get enough credit for being tough. I guess it's your passion, right? That
Well, you know
drives
what they
through.
say, if you're going to be stupid, you got to be tough.
I tore my knee all to pieces between high school and college, and there's a reason why I couldn't play basketball in college. It changed my life, really, you know, and now I have a sit-down job, so I don't have to worry about running anywhere now. So actually, it worked out for the best.
I cracked my sternum at a crash in Texas.
Did it affect you mentally or physically later the way you drove?
I won the championship the next week.
Yeah, I did break my arm one time playing basketball while roller skating.
No, wait a minute.
It was at my buddy's house. Tripped over a rock when I was shooting and fell backwards and broke my arm.
Breaking my left shoulder blade racing go-karts.
No lingering effects, though, mentally or physically? No, you're over all that. Okay.
The only thing that makes me mental is you.
Knock on wood.
All right, sorry.
So far, so good.
Knock on wood, yep, nothing too bad.
Knock on wood, I've been fortunate.
No, I've actually been lucky, knock on wood. I don't have any good stories.
Those drivers don't know the meaning, don't want to know the meaning of fear.
Some of them need a CAT scan.
Crew chief driver, the spotter, as big as anybody in today's race for the crew.
He is going to be huge today. I mean, the guys have got to have an all-star performance by their spotter today. They're going to either keep them out of trouble, but at the same time, the key thing has to be they can also help you win this race, Chris. I mean, that's the other part of this thing. They may help you keep you out of trouble, but when you see the outside line moving, they can get you up into it and try to get you out of trouble. You see right there, crew chiefs right now conferring together, all three of these guys talking. A lot of strategy will play out today, but the spotter is going to be a key player.
Yeah, so who makes, and those are all the Gibbs crew chiefs gathering today, who makes a good spotter?
Sometimes an ex-driver, but somebody who is very calm, very patient, and can pay attention to what's going on.
Chad Knaus coming off a win with Jimmy Johnson a couple of weeks ago at Phoenix. Jimmy's first win of the year. As the drivers and the crews are getting ready, let's get ready for those famous words in racing.
Now, for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome today's Grand Marshal, President of Aaron Sales and Lease Ownership, Mr. Ken Butler.
Race fans, are you ready? Today, you are the Aaron's lucky dog because you're the Grand Marshal for the Aaron's 499. I'm going to start it. I want you to finish it. Let's all stand up, and I want to clear your vocal cords, and let's get ready to go. 1, 2, 3, gentlemen!
More than 150,000 strong, and you have a great seat for, will it be Kyle or Carl, Tony or Junior? What about Jeff Gordon, who has won the last 2 races here? Let's join up in the broadcast booth, Larry, Darrell, and Mike. Gentlemen.
Well, thanks, Chris. We have the best seat in the house to watch them go around here and covering a football field a second. Darrell, you don't race 3 and 4 wide here because you want to. You do it because you can and because you need to try to get to the front. This is not the most physically demanding race, but it seems this is the most mentally demanding race.
Oh, this joint will wear you out. I mean, your hands and you're so tense in the race car. You never can relax because there's something always going on around you. You're looking in front of you. You're looking behind you. You look back a lot, and there's cars up beside of you banging into you, pushing you around. So you really are as intense a racing here as there is anywhere we go. It wears you out mentally, not so much physically, like you said.
Larry, is this race as intense along pit road? Because sometimes the waiting is the hardest part.
Well, it is. You know, as a crew chief and as a team, you've done all you can do to give that driver the best race car. And unlike all the other races we go to, you're not only at the mercy of what you do in your strategy, you're at the mercy of all the competitors on the racetrack and on pit road. You've got to have the partner on the racetrack, and you've got to have the right partners come to pit road. This tire is a good tire. I think you're going to try to spend as little bit of time on pit road for Sunoco race fuel, and that's about the whole case of it.
And Mike, and when you get mentally tired, that's when you make mistakes. And that's what we see late in these races. Guys make mental mistakes and take a lot of people out with them.
They cover a football field a second here, but things can go awry in the blink of an eye. Stay tuned for NASCAR on Fox at the world's fastest speedway. The field is rolling here in East Alabama. Thunderstorms to the north and south. Looks like they're going to miss us this afternoon, so we're ready to race for 500 miles. Today's FedEx Racetrack's question comes from James in Palestine, Texas. At the Texas race, he was there and noticed the new COT, Car of Today platform. This car sounds different than the old car. Why, Larry?
Well, it's not that anything has changed with the engine or even the headers on the engine to make it sound different. With the old car, you had options where the exhaust pipes went out. They maybe both went out the left, both out the right. Maybe like here, you would go out the left and the right. But with the new car, all the exhaust pipes, same size, same configuration, all of them have to go out the right side. That's why they sound a little different from what we had before.
Send us your question to foxsports.com, keyword FedEx, for more information. Let's have a look at the starting lineup for today's 500-miler. A big surprise. Joe Nemechek, one of the go or go home qualifiers. Front row Joe put it on the pole, knocking Tony Stewart off the pole and to second. As you look at the starting lineup, Darrell, let's check in with the front row.
Joe Nemechek, it's a DW in the Fox Sports booth, but he got a copy. Joe Nemechek, DW, got a copy?
10-4, DW.
Joe, you got a beautiful race car, National Day of Prayer. Got a lot of people praying for you. How much did you compromise the car for the race, Joe, to set on the pole?
Actually, there's not much. You know, the first stop there, we got to stop and put one belt back on the front of the motor, which is going to hurt us a little bit on track position, but that's about it. I mean, what we have is pretty much race trim.
Well, you sure were fast in qualifying, and hope you can keep it up there today. Hey, how about nerfing up against that 20 car there? I want to talk to him, and I'll call you back and let you know what his strategy is here in a minute.
10-4, let me know.
All right, bud. Hey, Smoke, it's a DW here. You got a copy, buddy?
Yes, sir.
Tony, you won the race yesterday, and you've got a great car today. How does it look out there today? What do you think is going to happen?
I'm hoping for the same thing. You know, obviously it's the best we've qualified here in a long time, and you know, qualifying on the pole for yesterday's race and winning, leading the most laps was awesome. It's so hard to explain to everybody what it feels like to finally win a race at Talladega. So we're definitely on the highest of highs going into this race today, and the guys in the pits have been doing an awesome job and zipping the guys bringing this car here and making it as fast as it is. Hopefully we can keep it up front all day.
Well, Tony, you think you'll be able to work with your teammate Kyle Busch or even Denny Hamlin, or you think it's going to be you and Dale Jr.? Have you thought much about who your partner is going to be today?
Well, obviously a lot of it's dictated by just where you end up shuffling in and out of the groups here, but you know, obviously we've all learned a lot from the Hendrick teams, and knowing that if you can get your teammates with you, it's a big help. So, you know, Dale Jr. and I have always worked good together, and if we get together, I'm sure we'll do the same. But, you know, I've still got two teammates that work in the same camp as I do for Joe Gibbs Racing, that I know all three of us are anxious to get working together again. And it seems like when the three of us get these Toyotas together, we get going real fast.
All right, buddy. Well, good luck. Put it in victory circle today and try to stay out of trouble, man. We're pulling for you.
We'll try to do that. I appreciate it, guys.
Make it a great race day with a perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Turn left. Enjoy Budweiser, Great American Lager. Getting ready to race at Talladega.
Let's do our race keys here. I always give you 3 keys that I think it takes to finish good here and get to victory lane. Oh, by the way, capital big, avoid the big one. You heard Tony Stewart talk about it. Pick the right partner. Chris Myers mentioned in the pre-race about the guy that has led the white flag lap has not won that many times. It's because he didn't have the right partner to come back to the checkered flag. And you know what? Based on the Nationwide Series race yesterday, I think we better look at it again. Avoid the big one. This crash right here, there were cars in the top 5 that were involved, and there were cars that were outside the top 30. There's nowhere to hide when that big one breaks out.
One of 2 big wrecks yesterday. That one, Kevin LePage leaving the pits, came up the racetrack before he was fully up to speed and right in front of the lead pack, 15 cars involved. The other one, Dario Franchitti, spun to the bottom of the apron and got hit by a car that was 8 seconds behind him entering the corner. Unforgivable. All right, let's get late word from pit road as we get ready to race. Steve Burns.
Mike, thank you. Kyle Busch has been red hot in all 3 of NASCAR's premier series, including the Sprint Cup level. But in 6 starts here at Talladega, he has 5 finishes of 32nd or worse. His crew chief, Steve Addington, sat him down this week and said, Kyle, pick your battles. You've got to be here at the end of 188 laps. Matt.
Steve, when you look at Ryan Newman's racing resume, the one Achilles heel, the restrictor plate races. But after an 81 race winless streak, he took home the Great American Race at Daytona 500 back in February. Roy McCauley, using the same analogy and same strategy, used the first 90% of the race, more like going to school, gaining knowledge. And then the final 10%, that's when you take the test to see if you really learned what you needed to go to victory lane. It would be the first win here for Newman, and it would be the captain, Roger Penske's 299th all-time win as a racing car owner. To Krista Voda.
The sponsor on the number 40 this week, the Tums Quick Pack. And as we've talked about, these guys had to make a quick driver change. Stremme in for the injured Dario Franchitti. Now, Dario is here at the track. He plans on watching the race from his motor coach. He's on crutches with a soft cast. He's going to get re-evaluated this week up in Indianapolis with Dr. Trammell. Chip Ganassi, the boss, he is in Kansas for the IRL race. David Stremme, he's not a newcomer to this team. This was his old team, his old crew chief, Stephen Lane, from last year, and he finished 2nd in yesterday's nationwide race. Dick.
Joe Nemechek had to turn a fast lap or he would not have qualified for this race. He was not a guaranteed starter. To turn that lap, he ran it without an alternator belt. So on the very first stop, while everybody else is changing tires, there will be 3 mechanics under the hood of Nemechek's car because he can't run the whole race without it.
Thanks, Dick. If you look at the front 4 cars, 78 Nemechek, 70 Kenny Strader, and the 84 of A.J. Allmendinger were all go-or-go-home qualifiers, having all 3 of them so close to the front of the field. Darrell, what are the thoughts of the drivers who were locked into the show and have the race package underneath, starting right behind them?
I think those guys may consider dropping back because they do have work to do once they have a caution flag. They don't want to be that caution flag, and when they're up in the front like that, they could be in harm's way.
And just to put a period on it, the reason all this is an issue, this is an impound race. You basically had to race what you qualified. NASCAR impounded the cars. You couldn't work on them after you came off the track from qualifying.
188 laps of holding your breath.
I'm as nervous right now as I am all year long for any race we go to. Tense, man.
These cars, they've not been out there drafting since on Friday.
Start finish line is way down toward turn 1, not in the middle of the trioval as it is at the sister track, Daytona.
Well, DW, if you're ever going to listen to what I'm telling you, we're going to be 4 wide, we're going to be 5 wide. Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
I got him.
And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Tony Stewart has led 16 of the last 17 restrictor plate races with an assist from Kyle Busch. Here comes smoke to the lead, lap 1.
And this could very easily be the last lap of the race. This is the way this field's going to look for 188 laps.
Joe Nemechek, our pole sitter, he slid up right behind Kyle Busch in the 18, but now Denny Hamlin has cars lined up going to the inside. Watch the yellow line closely. Look at this, 3 wide. We started 2 wide, now they're 3 wide. That yellow line, they have to treat it like out of bounds. You can't go below that line and advance the position.
This is when these first 10 laps and the last 10 laps of this race are absolutely nerve-wracking.
4 wide mid-pack, and on the outside, that's Jimmy Johnson backing up in the field in that low Chevy.
That's by design. Trust me, it's by design. They're going to just hang out at the back, kind of let this thing wind down, and then I'm sure they will show up before this thing's over.
And this package, this car, this restrictor plate package, this engine, you can fall to the back and not worry about it. You got a lot of throttle response, and they will draft back up pretty easily.
Tires get on my nerves.
Well, it's 2 laps into the race and 3 laps now, and it's already getting on his nerves. He's got a problem.
He's got a long way to go.
He got a real problem.
Well, there we see those 3 Gibbs Toyotas lined up, but how about David Reagan in that 6 car, by far the top qualifying Ford, sitting right up there tucked behind them.
John Wood, 3rd generation of the Wood brothers, 2 laps, and his number 21's gone to the garage.
And just remember, Mike, that was a car that had to qualify on time. Outside the top 35, you wonder how much they pushed the envelope to get that Ford in.
And I'm sure they did a lot of things because he qualified well, and that's the chance you take. But he had to get in the race. That's the gamble.
Single file for the front 10, double file the next 10, and then it's a triple wide from there on back. That's the way they race here at Talladega.
Racing at Talladega is like if you go to New York Broadway and go to a play. You have the opening act where everything people come out on the stage, and then they get to know who the players are. And then you have the middle of the race here where they set the plot. And then you have the final, the grand finale. That's the way this is.
Does the mere mention of this track incite fear or anticipation among the drivers? We asked them.
You know, the word association game, one word, Talladega, fast. Yeah, that's cool.
To me, it's patience.
Nerve-wracking. Restrictor plate racing.
Intense. Yeah, I really like that one.
Excitement.
You got to have patience for the majority of the race, and then when it comes time, then you got to do what you got to do.
Wild would be my word.
Crazy.
Scary. That's exactly what it is at times.
Wild.
I always think when I come to Talladega, you have a 50-50 shot of finishing.
It's amazing we don't crash more than we do because you're driving looking up the whole time.
I look at this race as anybody can win this race.
Joe Gibbs has spent his whole life diagramming plays on the football field. His team has diagrammed one for the opening laps of this race. There are Gibbs' 3 Toyotas running 1, 2, 3 single file, Stewart, Busch, and Hamlin.
There's another word. I don't know if I heard anybody use it or not. Respect. You have got to respect the other guy, and you got to give and take when you're running this close together. Looks like we got a car off the pace back there coming to pit road. It's the
Reed Sorensen,
41 car.
A lot of smoke coming out of the front wheel wells.
Blew a motor, guys. Wow.
Well, Larry, I got to tell you guys, and you know, I had my NASCAR on Fox car out yesterday morning. These engines are working, man. I mean, these things are turning over 8,000 RPM around this joint, and that's unusual, or that's high RPM for a restrictor plate track.
Now, what's happened to Kyle Busch? He got off the bottom of the racetrack up to the outside lane and dropped back. He dropped like a rock 10 positions.
I bet he won't drop for long. He'll work his way back up there. He's already got a little group assembled behind him, Elliott Sadler and Brian Vickers. He'll be back up there.
That makes you think that maybe the car got a little loose with him or something happened. He had to get up out of the throttle.
Again. I mean, it's obvious.
Drafting off, that's Kenny Schrader in the number 70.
It's his first ride in this car. Of course, the team that he had been driving for, BAM Racing, they've elected to take a sabbatical from racing for a little while, and Kenny Schrader was tapped to come here, and that 70 car had to qualify on time.
You know, I didn't like the sound of that. That was Kyle Busch talking to his crew chief saying, see what I was talking about, or it happened again like Daytona. There's some team chemistry there that I don't think he was very happy with.
Yeah, it didn't sound like a problem with the car.
No.
He would have more properly described it.
Something
we're going to see it here. We're about to see it.
Yeah, I didn't like the tone of his voice.
Watch Denny Hamlin up and under Kyle Busch.
And this is through the tri-oval.
Like I said, he may have gotten a little bit loose somewhere.
Right, yeah.
And a lot of times with the rear wheels up off the ground, she'll get loose.
Now it's Hamlin going backwards as David Reagan is hooked on to race leader Tony Stewart. Here's Steve Burns in Kyle Busch's pit.
Well, Mike, I know exactly what he's referring to. Back in the Daytona 500, Kyle took exception with his teammate Denny Hamlin at a couple points in that race and felt like his own teammate had hung him out to dry.
You know, one thing I'm a little surprised at, we just saw Jeff Gordon in that 24 car. I was almost thinking, it's still early, that he would go with the same strategy as Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car, because right now Jimmy Johnson is back in 38th position. Jeff Gordon sitting up there just cracked the top 10.
He was in a dilemma. He was right in the middle. He didn't know whether to go forward or backwards.
He knows this is a place he can get out of that slump, too.
That's right.
And there's a lot less cars to dodge if you're 10th than if you're 40th or something.
I don't know about that.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. By McDonald's. Score something good for breakfast. Try the new McSkillet Burrito only at McDonald's. By Chevy. The most wins in NASCAR history. That's an American revolution. And by Sprint. Welcome to the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful.
Go to PepsiRacing.com. Get a free song download from Pepsi Stuff. See details on the website. Tony Stewart, your leader after 12 caution-free laps. He and his favorite dancing partner, not Elio Castroneves or Julian, Dale Jr., have almost found each other, but for that 6 car, that's David Reagan's Ford in the rocking chair between the dynamic drafting duo.
I think Junior will at some moment here say, sir, you are in my way, and I need to get behind.
That's what's kind of happening right there right now.
Yeah, you're dancing with my partner. Please get out of the way.
193 miles an hour, middle of the corner.
This will give you an idea right here of what goes on here at a racetrack where they never lift off the throttle. If you see the miles per hour, very rarely changes, as well as the RPM, just a little bit. And you never see that hardly.
The thing I like about this package that we have with this car and this engine is you can get out of the throttle and get back in it and have response. The old package that we had, you had to keep your foot on the brake and keep momentum up. And I'm telling you, if I were the 6 car, I might just consider letting that 88 by.
Trouble is, Darrell, if he moves aside for the 88, will he get freight trained by that whole pack?
Oh, yeah, he will. But that's better than having a guy beating on your back bumper.
Digger, I believe I'd get back in my hole, too. We do need to mention that John Wood, the 21 car, they are back out on the racetrack 8 laps down, and I think I can say with confidence they spent 8 laps in the garage area undoing and redoing some things that got that race car in the show under the impound procedure.
Still 2 distinct packs of cars as you look at John Wood. Single file at the front of the field, and that goes all the way back through Matt Kenseth in about 13th place. From there back, it's double wide. That is a big snarling second pack.
But right behind that snarling second pack is about 4 or 5 guys, 2 Hendrick cars, I'm not sure who else is back there. There they come right back here. That's Jimmy Johnson. He dropped back, picked up one of his teammates. I think Michael's back there. And they're just kind of riding along out of harm's way, they hope.
On the bench, so to speak.
Yeah. There's two, you know, if you're riding up front, you get hit. If you're riding in the back, you hit.
But all they want to do is just stay within touch. As long as they got a nice little pack back there, they can stay in touch the way the draft works.
That pack worries me.
There's a lot happening right there in that pack, but you see Kevin Harvick in that yellow 29 car, and he started back in the 39th position. He's moved up to 14th, trying to drag that pack up there to that lead pack.
And Mike, that pack worries you, but what that pack is worried about, and Kevin Harvick knows it, is that other group is getting away, and they can't let that happen. So that's what this group here is trying to keep from happening, catch up with those other guys so they don't get away.
Harvick and David Gilliland have gained the most spots. Harvick was getting a push from Jamie McMurray and Scott Riggs. They have broken away a little bit from the second pack, trying to run down the leaders. But you know, Tony Stewart setting a pace here. Average speed of this race so far, 191.5 miles an hour. Stewart's not waiting around for anybody.
And quite honestly, I don't see a soul right now that could pull out and pass him. That car is fast, and look at the attitude of it, Larry. It's got that nose down. It's going to take it's going to take a couple of people to get around him.
And if they go around him, it will have to be on the high side. He's going to hug the bottom of this racetrack.
Stewart has now led 17 of the last 18 Talladega and Daytona restrictor plate races.
I asked him when we were just kidding. I said, how come you run second 6 times? He said, because I had the second best car 6 times.
17 laps caution free in the Aaron's 499 in Alabama. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
I'm leaving these guys in the smoke. Yeah, I got that part.
Ouch. That's the right side of Matt Kenseth's car. He's brought out the first caution of the day. Down in turn 2, you're looking at Kenseth.
And when they turn hard right like that, that's a right front tire. That thing just exploded. Watch this shot here. You just see the car take off. Bam.
And you know, a totally different type of a racetrack. Remember 2 weeks ago at Phoenix, he cut a right front tire down and hit the wall.
It's been feast or famine for Kenseth. He has 4 top 10s this year, and he has 4 finishes of 20th.
Right to the garage.
If they're going to the garage, you can see they just actually broke part of the splitter off.
Get out of the way, guys. Come on.
They want to get that car off pit road before everyone else comes in for service in this first caution of the day. Tony Stewart has led from the outside pole. He's led every lap so far. Steve Burns.
Mike, when the caution came out, Kyle Busch said the brackets had broken on his right side mirror, so that could be an issue for him as he negotiates traffic. And look for the 18 team to take just right side tires as they come down pit road. Matt.
Running first and third, Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt Jr. The same strategy for both teams, right side tires only. Gives both an opportunity to get a good test and see what right sides will do on this early run.
David Reagan has been in the middle of a draft sandwich between Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt Jr. He is doing just fine. Originally, they were going to take just right sides. Instead, it's 4 tires for David Reagan. Dick?
Joe Nemechek has shut his engine off. He had to do that for Doug Holbrook, Howard Shipwash, and the crew chief, Jay Guy, to do their work under the hood and put that belt on the alternator. Without the belt, the battery would simply die, so they've got to get it on for him to finish the race. He had been running in the 4th position. They've also taken some heat wrap off the engine area as well. They will be among the very last, if indeed not the very last, to leave pit road. No tires on this pit stop.
Whoa. I believe Ken Schrader stayed on the racetrack, and he'll get 5 points for leading a lap.
Remember, he came in here just 12 points out of the top 35. Great move for that group.
Today's aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. For track-tested technology, get there on Goodyear Innovation. The pace car leads Tony Stewart back in front after pit stops. Kyle Busch, Elliott Sadler, Jeff Gordon, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Kenny Schrader led a lap, got his 5 points, went back to the pits and got his work done. Matt Kenseth has gone to the garage. Ready for our Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Live Claret and Clear indoors and out. We've completed 23 laps this time by.
Yeah, those guys that had to get on time, there was a lot of work going on pit road on those guys, like the 70 car, the 78 car, the 09 car, and in fact the 10 car, Patrick Compardier, Mike Shiplett, that group, they got a little bit behind because he just left pit road as we just got the green flag, so he's just getting up to speed down the back straightaway.
Perfect caution though for those guys. Yeah. About 10, 20 laps, that's a good time to come in and work on those things that they had undone.
Single file restart because everyone on track except John Wood is on the lead lap.
John did get one of those laps back because he was 8 down and he got the free pass to get one back.
Now these single file restarts at this point in the race can really play havoc with guys near the back of the pack. They could actually get out of the lead draft because they're so far behind when the green flag comes out.
Looks like they've kicked Eric Almirola in that 8 car to the high side out of the single file. We're riding with him here. He restarted the race back in 7th. He's going to be lucky if he can fall back in line in the top 15.
Nobody has led a green flag lap today except Tony Stewart.
Well, now there's a guy that's got a car equal to Tony's, I believe, and it's yellow. And so, you know, there's a chance that Kyle Busch, if he elects to, could possibly get around the 20 car. They're pretty equal in speed, I think.
Let's go to the garage and Steve.
Mike, Matt Kenseth sits in his car. A lot of work going on in the front. Matt, can you guys get this thing fixed, and what put you back in here?
We just blew right front tire. It amazes me you can blow right front tire at Talladega, but I guess you can. But it's been a tough start to the year for our whole Duel group here, their Duel Fusion. But I thought we had an okay car and did everything. Recommended air pressures, got Goodyear sheets, did everything they told us to do. But it blew out the inside of the tire, had it all chunked out, and just exploded the right front tire. So just it's pretty disappointing. This place shouldn't be hard on tires, and it just amazes me that you can blow one. But I don't know. Just got some bad luck. We'll try to get out there and finish the race, I guess.
But Mike, they're still working extremely hard to the front of this car, replacing the splitter, trying to get him back on the racetrack.
Now, Steve, if you watched the Nationwide Series race yesterday, you saw some tire issues there. Totally different tire that they ran yesterday versus the package today.
But even when people have tire problems, it always surprises you when you have one. I mean, probably the last thing you think about when you go in a corner at 200 miles an hour is that you're going to blow out the right front tire. You're going to have a tire failure. You put a lot of confidence in those things, and it's not something you really think about until it happens.
Well, we're accustomed to seeing teams occasionally have problems if they run too much camber or run below the recommended air pressure. But as Kenseth said, they were doing everything according to recommendations. So yeah, I mean, this came as a surprise.
Camber here is probably negative on the right front. Instead of being leaned in, it's probably leaning out a little bit.
The only thing, this place is so smooth as we ride with Jimmy Johnson right now, sitting back in the 39th position. The place is so smooth. I think the teams have learned so much since we ran this car here in October, probably a lot more aggressive with the setup than they were in October.
Yeah, this car, even though it's still got some work to be done, I think we all agree on that, it has evolved a long way in a short period of time.
Jeff Gordon hard at work, and you see that little tilt of the helmet to look in the mirror.
Well, when you drive here, you look behind you just probably more than you look in front of you. You drive defensively.
A number of the drivers talked to Chris Devoda about their mirrors, and I was surprised how many talked about how they spend more time looking behind them than looking forward.
I'd say that the speedways would be the only exception to what I normally do. Whereas speedways, you spend 90% of the time looking in the mirror and very little time looking out the front of the car.
I'm really not trying to pass that car ahead of me. I'm trying to position myself in front of the cars behind me, because that's what's going to give me the momentum to make the pass.
There isn't one time that you don't look in the mirror. You look in the mirror in the corners. This is what it looks like with your eyes. That happens the whole way around.
And then as you get in traffic, it's smart to use your mirrors if you're going to change lanes pretty quick.
I think I look through my rearview mirror more than I'm looking forward. You know, the majority of the race, you kind of have an eye on what's out here, but you're always up there, and you're just kind of barely seeing what's in front of you.
You look, you know, once you're in the straight, you're always paying attention. Are they going to move? Are they going to, you know, you're going like this.
I mean, we have, you know, a lot of mirrors inside my race car, especially, and it's all really looking out the right side, because it's very important to, if you have an inch or two to squeeze in there, it could make a difference in a lot of positions, whether you squeeze yourself in there or not.
And I think that's the key word that he just used. Sometimes you squeeze yourself in there. That's when you get in trouble. But remember when I was telling you about the restart, how it'll separate the field out sometime when you're single file and some of the guys at the back of the line don't get going as fast as some of the guys up front? Well, that's where we are right now. We've got this group running along here in the front, then got a whole bunch of guys that are way, way back here spread out all the way around the racetrack.
Yeah, we've got the top 24 cars that are about 3 seconds from each other, and then it's about 4 seconds back, starting with Casey Kane in the 9 down to Kyle Petty that's in the 29th spot.
Well, when I look at Casey Kane, his lap time is a 49.7. You look over here at Tony Stewart, his lap time is about a 49.5. So there's a good 2 to 3 tenths difference in the two groups. This will help.
One long freight train at the front of the field. Totally unlike what we'll see next Saturday night under the lights on the short track at Richmond, Virginia.
One long freight train. You just saw that 7 car. He's had one long plane ride last night. Robbie Gordon had been over in Europe all week at the Dakar Rally. P.J. Jones had been practicing and qualifying his 7 car. Because of the driver swap, this car had to go all the way to the rear of the field. I'd watched him in that first run. He has made his way to the top 15. Right now, Robbie's running back to the 26th spot in the race car for the first time this weekend.
A hard week for Robbie, but well rewarded. His 2 Hummers finished in the top 10 in the replacement for the Dakar African Rally that was canceled back in January. Tony Stewart has led every green flag lap so far, but there's 158 to go here in Alabama.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager.
We have a new leader, and 100,000 folks here, including 3 of us in the booth, are still shaking our heads at how Denny Hamlin got to the front and took the lead from teammate Tony Stewart. They came from about 12th position.
Us and the spotters and all these fans said, whoa, how did that happen?
But if you notice, they not only did they get to the high side, they put a big gap between that single file line, and then when they cleared Tony Stewart down in turn 1 and 2, Denny dropped to the inside. We heard the spotter for Jamie McMurray say, you got a hole, dive in behind him, and that's exactly what happened.
In 3 laps, Hamlin and McMurray went from 12th to the lead.
Which is hard to do, but I think that just goes to show you how strong both of those race cars are, especially that Toyota pushing that forward.
Hamlin, Stewart with Busch 7th and Brian Vickers 10th, the Toyota top performers after 35 laps. What Dale Jr. have to say about that, Matt?
Mike, he was just riding on the inside, and when those cars went by and took the lead, he simply said on the radio, kind of jokingly, rude.
Well, that's one that you write down for later in the day. That can happen, and you don't want to forget it.
Now we've got about the top 24 cars that are separated by less than 2.5 seconds. You're looking at the whole pack right there.
You know where that 18 car was running the last time by? Second.
Now he's 12th.
He pulled out when Hamlin pulled down in front of Tony over there, or Tony pulled out. The 18 went with him, and he fell back.
Riding with Jeff Gordon right now in the 24 car. He's last time by he was shown in the 13th position. He's got a little group assembling behind him. Brian Vickers in the 83, Paul Menard in the 15, and Daytona 500 winner Ryan Newman in the 12.
I think those guys saw that happen, Larry. Now I think they're going to say, hey, come on, let's get up here and see what we can do. And that's what we needed for this race right here. We needed for that outside line to come in.
Well, there's got to be a little coaching going on there, Darrell. Did you see what Hamlin did? Yeah. You want to get you some of that? Let's go.
Yeah, would you see who jumped out there to get with Jeff Gordon just then as they went down in turn 1?
Oh, yeah, the Pied Piper.
The 88. He said, hey, I like the way this is going.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. leads the outside line. Matt?
Tony Eury Jr. will tell you their spotter TJ Majors, one of the most impressive points about how he spots is that he's just so informative. He doesn't tell you what a car or two, he's telling you 3 to 5 cars back, and he set Junior up to let him know that Gordon was moving in that outside lane if he wanted to try to set himself up to jump in line. That's exactly what he did, so he can investigate the outside and try to put his car in the lead.
And Jamie McMurray got caught in the sucker hole and found himself going from 2nd to about 9th in the space of the front straightaway.
Well, I want you to look at this push that Brian Vickers is giving Jeff Gordon a 24, and I'm sure it's going to transfer up to Dale Earnhardt Jr. And I think our crowd, as they come back around, they'll let us know.
Now that's a freight train. The only thing missing is couplers.
Well, what I like about this car versus the old car from the past, these cars line up. The bumper, by the way, folks, we didn't crank it up yet.
Junior Nation. Look at him in the grandstand as their man takes the lead.
But this car, the front of the new car and the back of this car line up so well that you can lean on each other and really give each other good drafts, good bump drafts.
What I loved, and I never realized that Dale Earnhardt Jr. told us in the pre-race, I can see him waving, I can hear him cheering for me.
And he leads for the first time today. Jeff Gordon with him. He has now led 14 of 15 starts here in Talladega.
But I'm trying to recall the last race here. The bottom was the way to go. Everybody was running on the bottom, and all of a sudden everybody jumped to the top.
Where he wants me to be.
Talking about his teammate. Where does he want me to be?
He wants the line to be.
They want to be high, want to be low.
And he's asking because for the first time here, Jeff Gordon is Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s teammate.
Said he wants to lead a lap. Do it. Right here.
Yeah, I will help you with that.
That's a little easier said than done at this place.
Little cat and mouse going on right now. I think guys are trying to determine, do I want to run high, do I want to run low? We've seen it kind of work both ways here in the last few laps, and now they're experimenting a little bit.
And most of them have decided
I want to big push for 24 here, stop.
I want to run with Junior or I want to run with Tony. How about Vickers down on the inside? He's won a race here.
Yeah, he's got Vickers, and then there was 11 and the 20 right behind him, so those Toyotas on the bottom.
And that's going to be why that inside line is what's going to make it hard for Dale Earnhardt Jr. to let Jeff Gordon lead a lap now.
You saw Junior's onboard camera kicking up a bit of dust as he went way high coming into the tri-oval.
Will help up top still.
It's just amazing how this how it goes from the bottom, hanging around the bottom, Tony Stewart. All of a sudden somebody tries the outside, they make it work, and the next thing you know, here we got a line around the top.
Tony Stewart.
He'll run wherever you want to run. He just don't like that 15 behind him there, Junebug, so he might have to do something.
Junebug is Dale Jr.
Next run he gets down the goal. Have to get a real strong one sometime. Just go. I'll try to get the second spot.
Talking about Jeff Gordon trying to get by. Tony Stewart led the first 20 laps of this race. Caution came out when Matt Kenseth cut a tire and hit the wall in turn 2. Ken Schrader led a lap under caution. Denny Hamlin got to the front, and now Dale Earnhardt Jr., to the delight of the crowd, is pulling this pack around Talladega.
But the good thing, 99's on pit road, Larry, but the...
Oh, you're positive it's on the right side, right? Positive.
Thinks he's got a tire down.
Dick Berggren.
He's got a vibration, and he does think it's the right front.
Doesn't look like it's down really, Darrell. I don't know.
I think it might be torn up. I think that's,
yeah.
Or at least that would be my thought.
Well, this will knock Edwards off the lead lap.
Oh, he stalled the car, but he got it going.
And the thing about it, he's going to get back out on the racetrack before the pack gets there, but he's going to be running about 2 to 3 seconds slower than that group, so he will go a lap down in that 99.
Vegas, they have a problem in the pits. Carl does. He gets behind. Last week, 2 weeks ago at Phoenix, they have a problem in the pits. He gets behind. And here today, if that's not a torn up tire and it's a loose wheel, that could be a problem.
There's a look at the tire, and it's some issues.
I think it's worn, yeah.
On the It's at the inner edge.
That's
Yep.
the inside.
Right.
And that is a sign, I think, from the fact that even though maybe they don't have a lot of camber, they're traveling it so far that it gets on that inside edge.
Now, something interesting in this pack. Look on the inside lane. Tony Stewart and Denny Hamlin, the 20 and the 11, they have drifted back to where their teammate Kyle Busch in the 18 is running at the back of this pack. Steve, what's up with Kyle?
Mike, I'm not sure, and I don't know that Kyle knows either. He just said this is a bad sign. We're just barely hanging on. And crew chief Steve Addington said, can you pull up? And he said, no, I can't.
Wow. This was expected today, based on practice and qualifying, to be a battle between the Gibbs Toyotas and the Hendrick Chevrolets. Long way to go. 144 laps remain as Dale Earnhardt Jr. has now led 6 laps. He's out in front of teammate Jeff Gordon and Paul Menard.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Well, a minute ago we were talking about Denny Hamlin drifting to the back of the lead pack. Never mind, there he goes for the lead against Brian Vickers. Meanwhile, Jeff Burton, with some help from David Reagan in the 6, got all the way up to the front of the pack, and Burton, the point leader coming in here, led that lap.
And remember, Jeff Burton actually had to start this race at the rear of the field because of an impound procedure. They had a wiring problem as he goes to the high side. This right here has been going on for about the last 2 laps. There's a lot of blocking going on out there right now.
And I tell you, that 11 car Hamlin, he drafts so tightly on the car that he is in front of him. I think he has to get out every now and then and get some air to the radiator.
Is he drafting on it, or is he chewing on the back?
Well, I think he's nibbling on it, that's for sure. But I think every now and then he has to get out and get some air.
Jeff Gordon wants to lead a lap. That's worth 5 Sprint Cup points. He's just been unable to break free of traffic to do so. Now he's coming up the outside, and he's got David Reagan, and Reagan's got the fastest Ford here right now.
There is no question since basically the track opened for practice on Friday.
Krista?
David Reagan has been very good. You know, before we were talking about how he was sandwiched between Stewart and Junior. Now he's riding in the middle of Jeff Gordon and Kevin Harvick. He is surrounded by experience, but what a difference the confidence that this young man has. He knows he can run with the likes of those guys, and that is exactly what he's doing as Junior continues to lead.
Tell you what, though, I want to get, it's early, but I want to give a call to some guys that we don't see at the front a lot. Look at Paul Menard up there in that 15 car. He's got a fast car. And how about that 77 car of Sam Hornish? His best run of the year was back in the Daytona 500.
Well, there's his teammate out there, Ryan Newman, in the 12. He's trying to, Kevin Harvick's trying to push him to the lead, and he just may do it.
Menard wants the lead, but here comes Newman. Newman with Harvick, the Daytona 500 winners of the last 2 years in a row, are trying to work the outside to the front.
Menard is in the excuse me lane.
Yeah, right in the middle.
But you know, when I look up there and I see Ryan Newman in the 12 car, and I look to the inside, I see Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42. Both of them driving Dodges. Go back to the Daytona 500. Not a lot of single car speed in qualifying, but it's like they draft good, they race good.
Now Junior up against the back bumper of his former teammate at DEI, Paul Menard.
Gotta love
from Jeff Gordon.
Gotta love this car. The old car, you could not do that. The old car, you jack the guy up in front of you and you've been in trouble. This car, you can lay into the guy in front of you. And again, this engine package has such great throttle response that you don't.
are clear by 5 car lengths right now, whatever you want.
You don't have to slam the guy. You can just get up against him and push.
Eric Almirola has bounced off the wall down in turn 2. He goes to the apron as the field goes by.
Just remember, this was Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s teammate last year, Paul Menard, in that 15 car. That's a DEI car.
It's his teammate this year right now.
Yes, it is.
No caution for Almirola. Here's a look at what happened to the 8 from the Army onboard camera.
I'm not sure if that's a tire or when he got to the corner, he didn't have enough air on the nose and the car did a little arrow push up the hill.
He's going to make it to pit road, and we stay green. Now he's out of the racing groove, I think. And look who's taking the lead while that was going on. Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 car with help from Denny Hamlin in the 11.
Hamlin's pushed a number of guys to the lead.
Yes. Now, Menard led the last lap. which is the first lap he has led in 2008. And now here comes Montoya trying to do the same thing.
And Montoya is working with the new crew chief this week because Chip Ganassi made the crew chief swap. He basically moved Jimmy Elledge over to Juan Pablo Montoya, Donnie Wingo over to Reed Sorensen, who's actually out of the race with a blown engine.
Jeff, this car of today package has proven to be very racy in these first 26 laps.
Mike, you're exactly right. You've been talking about how these guys have been pushing their way, bumping their way to the front. And DW, you mentioned about how they perfectly line up the rear bumper with the front bumper. If you take a quick look here, you can see on the nose of our Ford Fusion, the way it lines up to the back end of the Ford Fusion, perfectly aligned. And this is the same for all manufacturers, whether it's a Dodge, whether it's a Toyota, whether it's a Chevrolet. They all line up, and so far, it's a good thing that they do. Guys, one more thing. Before we go away from down here, let's talk about the problem that Roush Racing is experiencing, and the 99 car in particular. If they have to come down pit road and make an adjustment to the camber, it'll be done right here on the right front. They'll come in, pull a shim out, and stand this tire up. What they're doing, they're eating the inside edge of the tire off. They need to stand it up some more so they can quit doing that. Because you saw what happened to Matt Kenseth. Too long, too much camber, you'll wind up blowing that right front tire. Guys?
Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Pied Piper, has fallen into that sucker hole, Darrell, and when you become the man in the middle, back you go.
Yeah, he dropped his pipe, going to the back.
Now, what's going to be interesting about this pack right here is we're about 8 to 10 laps away from what would be green flag stops. That can be pretty exciting at this place, too.
Denny Hamlin, the Virginian, leads them around Talladega.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by the Ford F-150, built Ford tough. By DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. By FedEx. Every day is race day. And by Coca-Cola Zero. Real Coke taste and 0 calories.
If you've got a NASCAR question, we've got answers. Go to Ask the Pros, built by the Home Depot on FoxSports.com. The list is growing. DW, Larry Mack, Jeff, Tony Stewart, and Greg Zipadelli are there to answer your questions at FoxSports.com/AskThePros. Since we left you, Ryan Newman has led a lap. Kevin Harvick has led a lap. And Juan Pablo Montoya went to the front and led a lap. Now it's Hamlin back in front.
And you know what worries me? You get comfortable with this drafting thing, this bump drafting thing, pushing, and the further into the race we go, the more aggressive you get. And that's when we end up with an issue. These guys get too comfortable running into each other with nothing happening.
All right, pit stops coming soon. Sam Hornish has already been in. Dick Berggren.
Well, Denny Hamlin is in a situation that I think would make a lot of people very uptight, but he just got the whole crew laughing when he said this is fun as, we'll use the word heck.
Okay. It's like what Jamie McMurray said when Hamlin shoved him all the way around the racetrack. He said, that was cool.
Yeah, well, he's been on a pretty great adventure, I might say. He's been high, low. He's pushed people to the front. He's been pushed. Oh, boy. Now, this right here, everybody better be on their toes. Because when you got a group of cars like this and you start talking about pitting, you better start letting people know about it right now.
Yeah, coming off turn 2, give that hand signal down the back straightaway and try to blend to the bottom. But at the same time, you don't want to give up a lot of time either.
But let the spotters know. Let whoever's around you tell his spotter, we're coming this time.
Do you have time to tell 20 spotters?
Well, you got to try.
I understand.
You know,
I
mean, this is critical right here.
The big thing, don't make that mistake. You do not want to get caught speeding on pit road because you're running from 190 down to 55 miles per hour. There comes Jeff Burton now in the 31 car.
So the Sprint Cup leader comes on to pit road as Denny Hamlin surrenders the lead back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Steve.
And Mike, Scott Miller, the crew chief on this 31 for Jeff Burton, has called for right side tires for Burton Chevrolet. No other adjustments. They stall it out just for a minute. He's giving a hard time getting going. Krista.
Steve, the call for his teammate Kevin Harvick, just right side tires, but they're filling it up with gas. Just rights for Kevin Harvick.
Now, we're used to seeing 4 tire changes at most tracks, Larry. Why only 2 tires here?
You have so much grip here that the tires don't wear. The tires don't give up. Really, the only reason you're taking 2 is kind of insurance. Plus, they're like free on the stopwatch because you have to have the amount of time to dump the 18.5 gallons of Sunoco race fuel. Now, here comes about half the pack coming on the pit road now.
Riding with Michael Waltrip.
And this is really working out well. I think I always wanted my crew chief, Steve, take the 55.
Michael Waltrip has been running mid-pack towards the rear. Right side tires only for the 55. They make sure they get as much gas as they can in that Toyota.
Paul Menard, David Rudiman coming on pit road with him. Michael McDowell. Group of cars that were running in the second pack. Elliott Sadler finishes up his stop. Robbie Gordon as well. Green flag pit stops. And this is where the teams that have stopped have to hold their breath and hope that everyone ends up stopping under green.
Here they come.
Here comes another big pack.
And if you're only going to do right side tires, you've got to be careful. You just saw Kurt Busch in that 2 car sliding the tires. If you flat spot one of the left sides, Matt, that's going to get you in trouble if you're only going for 2.
Absolutely, Larry Mack, and that's one reason why a number of drivers practice their entry on the pit road during practice on Friday. Jeff Gooch Patterson had to wait a little bit to get that second can to top off. He's now good to go. Dick Berggren.
Denny Hamlin is in a great position because the car in front and behind him have already pitted. He's taking just 2 tires, and all the fuel that tank will hold. He's gone.
We talked about mistakes. Kyle Busch in the 18 car missed his pit box completely.
At the end of pit road, Brian Vickers spins, and here comes the pack. He's got to wait until everybody goes by to get going. No caution, another mistake.
Well, we saw that with the 6 car on the earlier caution. It must be when you put sticker tires on that they're a little slick and you can't get good grip when you first take off.
Well, and it could be Darrell putting those sticker right side tires with the scuff left side tires. Big differential in air pressure and heat, Matt.
The 2 Hendrick cars, the 88 of Junior and the 24 Gordon, pitting just 1 pit stall apart between them. Good 4-tire change for Junior. Took 2 tires in the last stop, keeping the same scenario with his teammate. The 24 both are away. Meanwhile, the 12 of Newman, he was pitting with Stewart, but he stalled it leaving. He lost a little bit of time on pit road. Steve.
Kyle Busch on pit road. He had to go all the way back around 2.66 miles. Now they have decided to take right sides only, and they make a chassis adjustment to help Kyle Busch turn. He's got some ground to make up.
You're right, Steve. This will probably put Kyle Busch almost a lap down because he had to make a second try coming down pit road to get to his pit stall. So Dale Earnhardt Jr. led last time around. Let's show you what happened to Kyle Busch when he first tried to get to his pit. Watch the 18.
All right, he's back in there with a lot of cars in front of him. There's his teammate, 11, right in front of him.
And just missed the pit location.
Yeah,
he didn't get forced out.
He had already missed it because he's pitting way down at the other end of pit road at the first opening.
Wow, he really messed up.
He was scored as 32nd the last time by, still on the lead lap. But most importantly, nobody to draft with. Watch Casey Kane coming in. They get set to service him, and whoa, some of Jeff Burton's crew has to jump out of the way.
Wow.
But I'm going to tell you, one of the great things that NASCAR did was putting helmets on these pit crew members. Again, like you mentioned, Darrell, he just drove out of his pit box. When he got onto the asphalt off the concrete, it just came around with him.
And sometimes sticker tires will do that. I mean, they got a glaze on them, and until you scuff them in a little bit, they can do that.
Tony Stewart is back to the lead along with Denny Hamlin. Their teammate Kyle Busch not quite a full lap down after a pit road entry miscue.
We welcome you back to Talladega. NASCAR on Fox. Tony Stewart out in front. Time for an AT&T race break. Denny Hamlin right behind on a Toyota, and then it's a couple of Chevys on lap 69 of just over 118 from the Hollywood Hotel. along with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, and let's take a look at the 18.
Yeah, what happened right there with Kyle Busch coming on pit road, he was on the outside lane like he was supposed to, but his teammate Denny Hamlin, along with David Reagan in the 6 car, had him blocked out. He couldn't even get to his pit stall, so therefore he had to go around and basically just put himself at the tail end of this lead lap right now, and he's really in a lot of trouble because he didn't have anybody to draft with, Chris. And again, it wasn't his fault. Basically, and I think Larry Reynolds can expand on this, is the fact that they're all supposed to be in single file. And those 2 cars on the inside were basically breaking a rule.
We've had 10 leaders and 15 different lead changes. Tony Stewart, winless in 18 tries here at Talladega, but of course 6 second-place finishes and has led the most laps. And it's early, but this weekend, the way he is setting the pace, tough to beat.
He's looking very, very strong right now, but we have seen he can be passed, so a lot of these guys are kind of like checking out their different dance partners. We saw early on where the 11 and the 26 car, Jamie McMurray, got hooked up and were able to go up there and take the lead. So I think you're going to have to start watching for a lot of these guys looking for that the ideal partner so they can make that pass to the outside.
Darrell Waltrip, of course, said in the pre-race show, you can't just hang around. You have to be aggressive, give yourself a chance at the end. Quick recap as we watch the live action. And Tony Stewart got out to the early lead and dominated through the first portion. And then that right front tire you talked about, Matt Kenseth, some problems there for Roush Fenway.
Too much camber on that car, but here we go again. This is what we're talking about. Jamie McMurray and Denny Hamlin get hooked up. They drive all the way past the 20 car of Tony Stewart, take the lead, and then all of a sudden Denny Hamlin dives to the inside and takes the lead away from Jamie McMurray.
And so Hendrick teammates, you see that, that Darrell Waltrip wrote, instead of a sea of red, an ocean of green and white, as Junior and Jeff Gordon work a little bit of magic. Same kind of thing, pushing Junior to the front and in the lead.
You've got to have a good dance partner. That's the main thing right now, Chris. You've got to have somebody that can run with you and help to complement your car.
Here are the top 4 car numbers picked by our viewers to win today's race. You can watch our pre-race coverage each week to play along. Check out the numbers, and we'll continue to keep you updated here. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Thanks, Chris. Tony Stewart has now led 40 of the 72 laps that we've run so far here at Talladega. 10 different drivers have had a chance at the lead. Half of them have only led 1 lap.
And I'm, if I'm out there on the racetrack right now, I'm sitting back in there somewhere saying, does anybody feel like we ought to try the outside?
Yeah.
Would anybody like to go the outside with me? Because we can ride around like this all day, single file like this.
Now, Jimmy Johnson right now in the 48 car. Of course, he's still on the lead lap. He's been hanging out at the back for the most part of the race, but now, Krista, he is up in the top 10, up in the 6th position.
That's right, Larry Mack. He actually got a little bit out of sequence at the start. They tried to lead a lap. Ken Schrader stayed out also, so he led the lap instead. But they had been drafting with their teammate Casey Mears. When they both came in on that last stop, both took 2 tires. Jimmy Johnson just came on the radio and said, Chad, I feel like I'm putting a little bit too much steering wheel into it. I may need to back off on that.
Well, and we're almost down to the point this is a 2-stop race. I think a lot of the guys that went with 2 tires the last time on the right side, next stop, they'll do left sides, and then on the final stop, do right side. So you can kind of understand their strategy. They've kind of settled down here, and we talked about Paul Menard, the 15 car, sitting up there in the 3rd spot. You've got his teammate, Martin Truex Jr., that started 33rd behind him. But how about the car right behind Martin Truex Jr.? Travis Quapple in that 28 car. It's so good to see that car sitting up there in 5th. It has Northern Tool and Equipment, a sponsor for the first time this year. Good to see that car there, not only not solid white, but running up in the top 5.
And my brother back there right behind the 48 car in the 55, he's sitting up there in pretty good shape in 7th place. And I tell you, I'd take my brother anytime at Daytona and Talladega.
Well, Davey Allison got his first win here at Talladega, driving the 28 car for the 8s.
I'd like to see a 28 car back in victory lane. Wouldn't hurt my feelings.
75 laps complete. Tony Stewart leading. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Ooh, the plot thickens. Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by HP. The computer is personal again. By the U.S. Air Force, defending America in a changing world. U.S. Air Force, above all. By Camping World, the official RV and outdoor retailer of NASCAR. And by Wendy's, it's way better than fast food. It's Wendy's.
79 laps complete. 109 to go. Tony Stewart, your leader. His teammate Denny Hamlin right up against his bumper. And then the Hendrick duo of Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Followed by 2 DEI cars, Paul Menard and Martin Truex.
I've never been here when 2 cars could get together the way they're getting together and pick up the kind of speed they're picking up. This car with this engine package is phenomenal when you put 2 of them pushing each other like that.
You know, a car that has worked his way back to the top 10 is our pole sitter, Joe Nemechek, in that 78 car, Furniture Row Racing. Give a call to Jay Guy in the Hendrick engine group, because remember on that first caution back on lap 19, they spent a long time on pit road, 2 stops to get the belts and things back on that engine, and now they've worked their way back to the top 10.
And I saw Dr. Dobson down there this morning from Focus on the Family and the National Day of Prayer. His wife Shirley, they had that program up, and you're talking about people that were walking on a cloud. Can you imagine putting your name on the car to come down here for a 1-race deal and sit on the pole and have a shot at maybe winning this thing?
Showing it's not a fluke.
Not a fluke.
Nemechek right now running 9th as you look back from Jeff Gordon's car. The 2 Toyotas up front are opening up a gap on the field. It was 3/4 of a second last time by.
Again, I don't think I ever remember being here when these cars could get hooked up this way, and 2 of them make such good time pushing each other.
And in a lap, they open it up to a full 2nd lead. Matt?
Mike, about 7 laps ago, Tony Stewart keyed the mic and asked that Adam Stevens, the team engineer, go back and look at their lap times when they were leading earlier in the race, when they took just right side tires, compared to now when they've just got their lefts, just to see if there is a big difference. And Greg Zipadelli, reporter back, we're a little bit slower as he loses the lead to the 48.
I'm telling you. 2 of these guys pushing each other like they got 100 more horsepower.
And doing it just with 2 race cars. But, you know, we felt like coming down here, not to shortcut anyone else, that this would be a battle of Hendrick Motorsports versus the Toyotas. And you look right now, that's what we've got in the top 4.
Well, you know what this is telling me, and it's setting up, and these guys are figuring out as quick as we are, probably quicker. You're going to win this race, somebody's going to have to push you.
But the biggest...
The Daytona 500 proved that.
Exactly.
Ryan Newman, without help from Kurt Busch, who is his teammate, I don't think could have won the Daytona 500.
I don't either, Mike.
Kevin Harvick had help the year before to win at Daytona. And you're right, 1 car alone, there's not 1 car here that's strong enough to do it without help.
And this is where Dale Sr. used to be so good. He would play around. He'd fall back to 15th or 20th. And then he'd charge back to the front. And he'd fall back to 15th and charge back to the front. You know what he was doing? Practicing for that last lap.
And making friends, because each time he charged
No, he never did that.
No, he picked somebody else up with him. And the last race that he won here, Kenny Wallace helped Earnhardt get from the back all the way to the front.
Well, I know who just lost a friend about a half a lap ago. Our teammate is Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the back straightaway, jumped to the high side and left Jimmy Johnson on the low side. And there we're seeing Carl Edwards in the 99 car who had a tire problem earlier. He's back on pit road. Looks like there may be a tire issue.
If you look at that tire, that right front tire, it's cambered way in at the top. And more so than I think I normally see. Or see the angle of the tire, how it's leaning in? And that's just too much camber.
And the reason we run more and more negative camber leaned in at the top, it helps the car turn through the corners.
So Edwards making another precautionary pit stop.
And see, you can get away with that at other racetracks, but here it's running on that edge all the time. Down these long straightaways, you're just heating that tire up.
2 Toyotas leading 6 Chevrolets last time by here, right in the midst of them. Our point leader, Jeff Burton. Steve?
And Mike, just heard Jeff Burton get the call to pit in 5 laps, and wondering if maybe they didn't get that gas tank all the way full on the last stop when they took right side tires.
Yes, Steve, because by my calculations, we should be able to go to at least about lap 110 to 115 if we indeed got that 18.5 gallon fuel cell full.
Look at that 11 and that 20 car. I mean, they pick up 20 miles an hour when they hook up like that.
And now they're getting they got a little bit of a help off that 99 car through 3 and 4 because he was out there breaking the air for them.
I mean, they just show, it's incredible. You can see how much faster they go when they hook up like that.
Let's watch their speed with Fox Tracks on the back straightaway here. They coming off the corner at 199 and gaining. You see Menard coming off the corner leading that next pack at 194. So those two Toyotas hooked up together faster than the field.
I mean, with the restrictor plate, Mike, you're not supposed to be able to pull away from the other cars like that.
Darryl, we just saw 205 miles per hour off into turn 3 by those two cars by themselves.
Dick Berggren.
And Hamlin just keyed his radio, Mike, and he told the crew that's power right there as he and his teammate Tony Stewart took off. Now Hamlin had a very neat thing happen to him a little bit earlier in the race. The engine was running a bit hot, and we've all been watching him with his bump drafting and running so close to the guy in front of him. That scraped off a little bit of tape, which then let the engine run a little bit cooler. He asked the crew how the nose of the car looks, and they told him it's just fine, but he's got to take care of the nose of that automobile, make sure there's no holes in that grill, because that could hurt him.
Now, we're looking back at Kyle Busch. Let's talk about what he's trying to accomplish here. If you remember, back on lap 63, he missed his pit box under green flag stops. He is now 1 lap down. All he wants to do is hang on to those two boys. We get a caution, he'll get that free pass back on the lead lap.
86 laps complete, 102 to go in the Aaron's 499. Tony Stewart in command. Dale Earnhardt Jr. back in front here at Talladega. You see the 31 of Jeff Burton, who has just made a pit stop. Chevrolet and Autism Speaks have joined forces this month to support Autism Awareness Month. Go to autismspeaks.org to help Chevy help autism. Click on the Help Chevy Help Autism link. Watch the video, and when you do, Chevrolet will make a donation to Autism Speaks, hoping to raise $1 million for this great cause.
And Mike, I don't want to keep harping on this, but I really worry about how aggressive these guys are being with each other and how that can lead to big trouble here as we get nearer the end of the race.
And I think what you mean by that, they're getting comfortable.
They're just getting real comfortable with shoving and pushing and banging into each other. And boy, one guy in the wrong spot when you do that, and we got a big mess on our hands.
Dale Jr. and his favorite drafting partner. We've told you Tony Stewart has finished second here 6 times. And what, half of those 6 times, the man who beat him to the line was Dale Earnhardt Jr.
The guy that's out front right now. You see Jamie McMurray in the 26 car. He showed some strength early in the race. He just goes by David Rudiman in the 44, getting a push from his 2 teammates of David Reagan and Carl Edwards in the 99. Again, Carl Edwards is 1 lap down, having to make an unscheduled pit stop.
And see all that swapping lanes like you just saw the 18 do from one to the top to the bottom. If you rub somebody the wrong way when they're doing that, you can't help but turn around. I don't care how good the race car is.
But when Junior went to the lead, he did it from behind Paul Menard. And as they were up in turn 2, we had Fox Tracks on Menard. And when Junior dropped out from behind him, Menard's speed dropped 6 miles an hour. So, Darrell, 2 cars together have proven to have a tremendous advantage here at any point in this race.
Yeah, and what you got to try to be able to do, though, is get a breakaway of some kind. See how they're all stacked up right now? You got to go high and get a run, and that's how you get all that speed.
And that second little pack there that's 3 wide, you see Kurt Busch in the 2 car, runner-up in the Daytona 500, just absolutely lost the draft earlier, and now he's a lap down.
Look at Elliott Sadler, the white and blue, number 19, leading that high group. I think his GPS is telling him, go low, get down, blend in, blend in.
I could have used one of those GPS things on a road course.
Yeah.
You know, where are you now? You know, I don't know about Talladega, though. You got plenty of people around here to tell you where you are.
Halfway next time by for Dale Jr. and Tony Stewart. Denny Hamlin, Jamie McMurray, David Reagan, the top 5, 1 Chevy, 2 Toyotas, 2 Fords. And this is how the field has looked much of the day. A breakout group of cars, single file, in this case 8 of them, and then a snarling pack behind, 2 and 3 wide. 94 laps complete. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Sprint. Welcome to the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. remains a 1/10 of a second ahead of Tony Stewart, but it's Michael Waltrip who gave the field a big scare in the tri-oval and then almost wrecked Sam Hornish in turn 2. Look at the 55 high in the corner with a soft left rear tire down into Hornish.
If he had not hit the 77, or however you want to look at it, he would have wrecked. But because that left rear tire's down, Michael was about to spin out, and the 77 straightened him up.
Waltrip able to make stops and come back out without further incident.
So we've had Jeff Burton and Clint Boyer, his teammate, that had to make early stops because they didn't get their tanks fuel back on the first green flag stop. And we just had Michael Waltrip pit on lap 97. But we're seeing some deals starting to be made because we're within about 8 to 10 laps of the guys having to make their second green flag stop of the day. In here, unlike other tracks, you want a group to come to pit road with because you want to leave with them to keep the draft speed up there.
Michael McDowell making his pit stop. Matt?
Mike, a lot of conferencing going back and forth between the teams. Earlier, the 12 sent someone down to the 20 teams box to find out when they were going to pit. Remember, they pitted together earlier, and then Jason Shapiro went down and had a long conversation with Tony Eury Jr. to find out when they would like to pit. Right now, the lap number appears to be 105. The big question mark, whether they're going to go 4 or 2 at this juncture, I would say the 88 team is leaning towards 4. Shapiro is going to go back down and have one more conference with Tony Jr.
And Matt, I think great strategy, as I mentioned a while ago, would be to go with 4 tires because now we're getting very close, as I mentioned earlier, to being a one-stop race after this pit stop, and you can get just the right side tires at the end.
And making deals, not so much with people that are around you on the racetrack, but people that are around you on pit road. It's so critical to be able to get on pit road without somebody in your way to keep you from getting in your pit box. So you got to look at the big picture here. Who's with me and where are they in the pit lane?
Now, what happened to Kyle Busch in that 18 car back on lap 63 on his green flag stop really should not have happened because we have a rule that says by the time you get to the entrance of pit road, regardless, you are scheduled and supposed to be single file. A lot of warnings were issued after that first set of green flag stops.
Yeah, because Kyle was on the outside and he's pitting in the early pit box down there. He couldn't get to his pit. That's why he had to go through.
It's another reason I always like a pit selection at the exiting in the pit road. It's not as near as congested when you get there.
Particularly here, Larry, where you know you're going to come with other people. So again, it's a part of the big picture.
And the reason Steve Addington pit that pit box, there's an opening there, but I still would rather be on down pit road where it kind of thins out a little bit.
I'm with you.
Probably about 4 laps away from pit stops. We've only had 1 caution flag today for Matt Kenseth, cutting a tire, getting into the wall up in turn number 2. All the rest of the stops have been under green.
Digger's still hanging in there, and what also is hanging in there is we are now past the halfway point. We have 42 of our 43 cars still out on the racetrack.
And Larry, I think it's that early caution at 20 laps, I think it was, the guys that were the go-or-go-homers, that worked out really well for them because they all were able to repair the things that they had that they needed to on their cars, and they're all still running.
A couple of important drafting duos. The one at the front, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Stewart, and this was the Daytona 500 winning combination back in February, Ryan Newman and his teammate Kurt Busch.
And as I mentioned a while ago, unfortunately, Kurt Busch, in that first long run, he lost the draft. So right now, Kurt is back in 30th, 1 lap down. We actually have a lot of cars right here in this lead pack that are a lap down. Kyle Busch in the 18 as we're starting to see more green flag stops, as well as Michael Waltrip and Carl Edwards.
Krista.
The 29 of Kevin Harvick comes in. Kevin Harvick having a very good run. Remember, his teammates not being able to get the full fuel. Kevin Harvick coming in right now. As he said, his car is very good. They're saying 4 tires. That's the stop.
Dick?
Now Truex is in for his pit stop as well. It's going to be a 4-tire change for Truex, although we're hearing some of the teams around us suggesting that 2 tires might be the way to make this round of stops.
Pole sitter Joe Nemechek in, Sterling Marlin in and out. So is Elliott Sadler, Jimmy Johnson, Kenny Schrader, Jeff Gordon pitting together. Greg Biffle is in, the American Red Cross car, and Paul Menard.
Again, these are all scheduled stops, and based on the number of laps they ran that time from the last pit stop under green, most teams should be able to make it to the end with just one more pit stop.
Biffle in front of David Stremme exiting his pit. Bobby Labonte alongside in the 43, and Casey Kane.
Man, this race is flying by, guys. We're at 104 laps.
Average speed 181 miles per hour so far, over 100 laps into it.
Only one brief caution, that one for Matt Kenseth. Dale Jr.'s led
next down 5.
He's led 27 laps of this race. Tony Stewart has led 55 today. He led 81 laps in winning yesterday's nationwide race.
One thing about Dale Jr.'s car, I think, Larry, you remember, as we think back to the times he's won here, his car gets better in this race. At this racetrack, more than any other, it gets better as it goes into the day.
Look at him using that hand signal, Darrell, all the way down that back straightaway, letting them know we're going to pit road this time.
Krista?
The 42 of Juan Montoya, as he rolls off pit road, is right sides only. He's a little tight off the corner.
Leaders rounding turn 4. All of the Gibbs cars are coming,
at the line here. No
along with
pressure here.
Junior
4,000
and
at the
Reagan,
line.
McMurray, and the 2 Penske cars.
Boy, you see that 18 car, Larry, he got to the inside that time.
Nice and smooth right here.
I tell you what, David Reagan in that 6, he did a lot of give and take, getting single file. Steve.
Right sides only for Kyle Busch. They're going to get as much gas as they can. Let's go to Matt.
Slight chassis adjustment for Stewart. Right sides only. Jeff Gooch Patterson top it off. The same for the 12. The 88 of Dale Jr. They went 4 tires. Going to stay together on pit road, Krista.
It's right sides only for David Reagan. A little bit of a hiccup, a little bit of a slow stop, but only rights for the 6.
Everybody gets away together, so that'll be a potent drafting pack when they get back up to speed.
But I tell you, the one thing you flirt with when you go with right side tires only, Darrell, and I think it's what bit Jeff Burton and Clint Boyer earlier, is making sure that he does not leave until you get that thing full, because that's critical right now.
See, one reason you can get by with just 2 tires now that the track has been resurfaced, the track used to be rough, and it would just use up your left side tires, and the car didn't handle good, and you had to get 4 tires. Now the track is so smooth, you can put 2 tires on here and be in good shape.
Dick Berggren.
Well, I think Denny Hamlin must have been listening to what Darrell Waltrip had to say just before that pit stop, which would be impossible, but he told the crew that this race is not going to be about tires, that the thing that's going to make the difference is the way various drivers handle the draft. It's all about the drivers. Hamlin, meanwhile, has a very unique and unusual problem. He has a vibration in the throttle pedal. It's causing his right foot to sort of fall asleep, and it's causing it to ache. Not much they can do about that except finish the race.
And when you go these long greens like this, you just got that pedal, you got the throttle wide open all the time, and you're shoving that thing through the firewall, trust me. And your foot will get numb and it will go to sleep. I've actually crossed over, put my right leg up under me and used my left one to gas it because I didn't need any brakes.
Yeah, we're working towards 100 consecutive green flag laps here just shortly.
81 laps to go at the world's fastest speedway. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Toyota. Moving forward.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has taken Jamie McMurray to the front, and they lead this race at Talladega. Now, right in front of Jr. is Kyle Busch, who has worked up to be the last car on the lead lap. So he'd come all the way around should a caution occur. McMurray running in second, Ryan Newman third, and Newman is either getting help or a big shove from Denny Hamlin. You decide which.
There's not a car out there that Levin hadn't shoved to the front. Now, I'm telling you, he'll push it. Look at him go up through there.
And
How
look
fast?
at the differential in speed. Almost 10 miles an hour difference between those guys.
Look at that. I don't know if...
That's big steam.
I don't know if this package was designed to work out this way or not, but it sure is fun to watch.
Well, it's kind of a turn on the old Daytona Talladega slingshot.
Yeah.
One car could pull out and swoop to the outside and make the pass by himself. This is not all that different, Darrell, except it takes two.
But what makes me think, I mean, they're stacking up over there in turn 2. And look at the run McMurray gets to the high side of Newman.
Wow. Amazing. These cars get such a burst of speed, and it's got to be because they punch such a big hole in the air that when you get a run, man, you really get a run.
But you know, I heard Jeff Gordon say early in the week with the old car, I absolutely want to be leading. With 5 laps to go, I'm not sure I want to be leading on the white flag lap with this car.
How about Jamie McMurray? 3 laps ago, he was 4th. Last time by, he was 2nd. Where did he go?
He's back
to 6th or 7th. That's a lot of up and down in the elevator.
Well, all I can tell you is, folks, you want to be sure and be here for the last 5 laps of this race, because that's what these guys are really practicing. Don't tune away now.
Yeah, there'll be a lot happening
still
between
plenty,
now and then.
Plenty going to happen, but I'm just telling you, these guys are setting up right now, thinking about what am I going to do.
"16 cars within 3 seconds of the lead. Only 1 caution today so far. We've never had a race at Talladega with just 1 caution. We've had 3 of them caution free. Denny Hamlin, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. Napa, get the good stuff. By TGI Fridays Restaurants, right portion, right price menu. Give me more Fridays. By the new AT&T, your world delivered. And by Allstate. Are you in good hands?
Denny Hamlin is. He's today's Allstate Good Hands driver. The way he pushed Jamie McMurray to the front of the pack around the whole inside lane required a heavy right foot, a lot of steam under the hood, and good hands. He went on to do the same thing with Ryan Newman and currently is the leader. Allstate, are you in good hands? Roush Fenway Racing responsible for both of today's cautions. Carl Edwards had problems with 2 tires. They changed both on pit road, and moments ago had problems with a 3rd right front tire. Bang, and he has brought out the 2nd caution of the day.
That's such a sick feeling. Man, you're in the middle of the corner and that thing lets go. TV can never do a blown tire justice.
And you know, I know that Goodyear's taken a lot of heat this year, a lot of races, but when you see only 2 cars have problems, and especially when they're from the same race team, you pretty much know it's not a tire problem. It's basically something going on with the setup.
Now Matt Kenseth made repairs and came back out onto the track. We'll see what happens with Edwards.
Oh, you know, yesterday Carl went airborne in that wreck down here in turn 1. Had a hard wreck yesterday, and that was a hard lick right there.
Now they came to the caution, or at the moment of caution I should say. Denny Hamlin was the leader and Kyle Busch was right behind him, so that should give Kyle Busch the free pass. Everyone will come on to pit road. Steve, what will they do?
Well, Mike, Jeff Burton in the 31's been pretty racy in and out of the top 10, but always around that bunch. He's going to take 4 tires, no other adjustments, likes his Chevrolet number 31.
And Tony Eury Jr. telling Dale Jr. they only need about 3.5, 4 seconds of fuel. See if they might just go gas only for the 88. That's the game plan. Meanwhile, Stewart's looking at going left side tires only. Shaggy Larson, the catch cam man, waving. They are full of fuel, and Stewart's away. Krista?
The call for David Reagan, who's been good all day. Just 2 tires, left sides for Reagan. Dick.
Another 2-tire stop for Denny Hamlin. He was told to go as soon as Chris Anderson dropped the jack. They expected a very short pit stop because they pitted for fuel on lap 106, so it didn't take a lot of gas.
The reason you do left side tires, you can get more fuel in it.
Got her jacked up over there.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s gas and go puts him in the lead.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by KFC Snacker. Big taste, small coin. Life tastes better with KFC.
Both of these clubs embody a rich, rich tradition. What a play. He's a good ball player, period. Big league play and an impressive play. Oof. Amazing. Amazing.
Cubs and Diamondbacks both off to a great start this season. A lot of great baseball on Fox next Saturday. Dale Earnhardt Jr. back in the lead. A gas-only pit stop got him off pit road first. His favorite drafting partner, though no longer driving the same make of car, Tony Stewart, has finished second to Junior 3 times, twice at Talladega and once here among Stewart's 6 second-place finishes. We're under caution here for the second time today. Debris on track from Carl Edwards, who cut down a tire and hit the wall. Let's go down to Jeff Hammond, who filed this State Farm safety report.
In 1994, NASCAR came up with a safety package designed to keep the race car from flying up in the air whenever it got spinning out at high speed. Part of this package included a right side window, roof rails. The most important part has to be the roof flaps themselves. Located at the rear of the roof, this has been determined through testing. It's a low pressure area that whenever the car starts to rotate and spin out, this low pressure would allow these roof flaps literally to pop up. This high pressure that is then created is forced through a tube to the other side, and then that roof flap would pop up. With both of these flaps deployed, puts pressure back on the race car, keeps it on the racetrack, gives the driver an opportunity to drive away. Heck, we've even seen these guys go to pit road, get 4 tires, and continue. Roof flaps, pretty good safety invention.
Thanks, Jeff. For more safety information, log on to foxsports.com. Carl Edwards has brought out this second caution. He is in the garage. Let's go there.
Thanks, Mike. With Carl, he's out of the race car. Carl, 2 days in a row, you've taken some pretty wicked impact. Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm great. It's just too bad. This Office Depot Fusion was a really nice new car. Looked like Matt Kenseth had the same trouble. We saw that we had a little bit of a pretty big problem in practice. I guess we just didn't fix it well enough. It's too bad. I'm glad we didn't take anybody else out, and you know, I guess I just hope a Ford Fusion goes to victory lane today.
Carl, do you know what the problem was or is?
It appears that we had the wrong camber in the tire. We tore up one tire, had to pit early, and I could feel it banging pretty hard. This one was coming apart, but I was going to let it get to the amount of banging that the other one was doing before I pulled in, but I never got to that point. And it's just too bad. I appreciate all my fans and everybody sticking behind us, and we'll come back.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you, Steve. Ready to go green with our Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Get Claret and Clear. Get back to feeling like yourself again. Kyle Busch did get the free pass, so he's back on the lead lap as Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart, Juan Montoya, Denny Hamlin, and Martin Truex bring them down for the restart.
You know, with 67 laps to go, with Kyle Busch getting back on the lead lap, we've got 30 cars on the lead lap.
Now Busch restarts in 30th position. Be interesting to see how long it takes the Wild Thing to work his way back to the front.
Let's bet. What do you say? What do you think? 10 laps max?
12, 15. You think 10?
I'd say it's 10.
If that car is better than it was at the start of the race, I think you'll be right.
121 by 131, we'll be talking about him one way or another.
At the front, Juan Montoya keeping close tabs on Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Stewart.
I got a great idea where we can enjoy and watch Kyle Busch. What do you think? Let's crank it up.
teammate Tony Stewart, and they are a potent pair of Toyotas behind Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s Chevrolet. Dick Berggren.
But Hamlin has told his crew and me, and therefore all of you listening to this broadcast, what his strategy is to win this race. He has said the car does not run particularly well in front all by itself. So what he intends to do is to push someone to the lead and make his move on him in the very last instant. That's car number 11, Denny Hamlin.
I don't find that to be a big secret since we've seen him do it about 10 times a day.
He did it to Jamie Mack, and he did it to Ryan Newman.
But what he's trying to do is time what we had back in the day here in the 70s and 80s is get that slingshot run coming off turn 4 and try to win the drag race back to the start-finish line. Remember, the start-finish line here, it's not in the middle of the front straightaway. It's headed out of the tri-oval down towards turn 1.
And remember this, too. Right now, it's kind of nice and tidy. You know, 2 lines, and maybe you get up on the outside and you go by a lot of people. When we get down to the end of this thing, it'll be 4 lines, and the track will be blocked.
Scrunch up a few tighty-whities.
Yes.
Now we're seeing Jeff Gordon in the 24 car. He's made his way to the front, getting a push from Juan Pablo Montoya. Matt, looks like Jeff Gordon not going to hang out at the back anymore.
The biggest benefactor of that caution was Jeff Gordon. He'd lost that lead pack, and talking on their radio, you could pick up the conversation that they didn't feel like they could gain that track position back. They took fuel only to get themselves back up to the front. Now he's just going to try to stay there as he works out into the lead.
And we know that still with that caution, these guys will have to make one more stop, somewhere around 25 to 28 laps to go to get to the end.
Jeff Gordon has not led a lap today. That was one of his goals early on. His teammate Dale Jr. tried to help him to do that, and now it's going to be Montoya behind Gordon, who does lead this lap. Krista.
Reciprocating numbers, Mike Joy, the 24 getting the push from the 42. Juan Pablo Montoya running with momentum. And remember, he's got his new crew chief, Jimmy Elledge, on the pit box this week. The crew chiefs of the 41 and 42 swapping places. Talking to him, also his spotter, Tab Boyd. Juan Pablo Montoya made his stock car debut here. It was only 2 years ago, 2006. He finished 3rd in the ARCA race. He's doing great today.
All 3 wide right behind the leader. Somebody stacked up there in the middle of turn 4 as Hamlin gets pushed back to the lead, and the man stuck was Montoya.
I mean, look at these guys, and you see the track is plenty wide enough for 3 and 4 wide, but we've already seen this is happening at over 200 miles per hour, including this bumping from Jeff Burton in the 31. Yeah, we've now had 28 lead changes among 13 drivers, and we still have over 60 laps to go.
I just want y'all to know, if I get real quiet like this, it's because I've gotten real nervous.
Is that the way you were in the race car,
exactly.
too?
Don't talk to me right now.
I'm busy.
Look at Hamlin and Dale Jr. race away from this field.
Well, that's what you'd like to be able to do on the last lap. I just don't know if anybody's going to be able to time it right or not. That's the big thing.
How many races have we seen here and at Talladega as Junior comes back for the lead on the outside, gets a little side draft off. Hamlin goes back in front, where, Darrell, you wanted anything but to be the leader at the white flag.
I think it's really all going to come down to somebody's going to win and somebody's going to be real kind to them and push them
right
to
up
the
under
line.
him there.
And I think it's going to be teammates. I think these 2 guys right here, and if Kyle Busch ever catches up, it's going to be hard to shake those Toyotas.
And Kyle Busch has gained only 1 position since the restart. He is not coming back to the front.
Well,
he's 29th.
He was way back when they dropped the green flag, and he's had to work his way catch up with this pack.
They're single file up front here, but back about 9th place. Look at them, 3 wide once again.
We saw that tape, Larry, off of the grill of the 11, and that's helped him because early I think he was having to duck out to get air, but now that tape's loose. It doesn't seem to affect the car like it did.
I think I know why the tape's loose. He's knocked it loose.
He knocked it loose. Scrubbed it off. That white car out there with the red, is that the Elliott Sadler up on the outside now? Looks like the Dodges are starting to hook up here.
That's the 19. He's come right to the front.
Got the 19, the 2, and the 12.
Sadler ducks low and tucks in with Dale Jr.
And again, that 2 car that's right in front of his teammate, Ryan Newman, the 12, Kurt Busch, he's still a lap down. He needs a caution just like Kyle Busch got it a few laps ago.
Boy, they get really, really tight coming out of turn 4. A lot of really packed in there. Goodness.
World's fastest traffic jam in eastern Alabama, 195 miles an hour. Dale Jr. brings them to the line with 58 laps to go.
We got 25 cars 2 seconds from each other.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history. That's an American revolution.
Elliott Sadler just became the 19th driver or 14th driver to lead this race today. If you've got a NASCAR question, anytime, anything you want to know, we've got the answer for you. You can go to all of our experts at Ask the Pros, built by the Home Depot on foxsports.com. They're open 24/7 to answer your questions.
You know, Mike Larry, the 24 was up there for a moment. Right now he's drifted all the way back to the 13th spot. Looks like he and even the 48 are having a hard time keeping up. Junior's car seems to be able to run up there with the Toyotas. Jeff Gordon's and Jimmy Johnson's, I'm not sure that they can or if they're trying to right now.
Yeah, we were not surprised to see them back there early in the race, but we're getting now to 50 laps to go. We know we still have another pit stop, so yeah, they are definitely drifting out of the picture a little bit. Right now, Elliott Sadler, who led about 2 laps ago, getting a push from Denny Hamlin in 11. Right now, they're about the 5th, 6th position.
It's like they hit the turbo. Look at those 2 cars. Just go around everybody.
Hit the turbo boost button. Now, Sadler got up and got the lead much the same way. Let's show you how he lost it just a bit ago without any help. Junior right up alongside, or right up to his bumper. Travis Kvapil in the picture in the 28.
Oh, man, Junior. 11 car dropped right down in front of the 88, and 88 hooked him. Woo! They're not playing nice now.
No, they're not.
I tell you, Junior was, I don't think he appreciated Hamlin cutting him off that way, and he got into him.
And just remember, as we've well documented, that's all happening at around 200 miles per hour.
Denny Hamlin is probably been the most aggressive driver out there today.
And Darrell, the concern has to be, at least from the booth, they have gotten away with so much for so long of aggressively driving these cars and shoving each other into the corner. How much is too much?
Well, when you start to put a little aggression, a little anger, you get a little upset with a guy, you start adding that into the mix, that's when you get trouble.
Tony Stewart and the rest of the field have given these 2 a little bit of breathing room.
But now they're getting lined up. You see the push that 20 car is getting right now. Great run for David Gilliland, and then that 38 car, he had to start at the rear of the field. He's right behind Tony Stewart, the orange car.
But Hamlin down there on the inside, he is exactly right. He can't stay up in the front. He gets there, he pushes people there, but he can't stay there on his own.
Gilliland in the 38, his teammate Travis Kvapil in the 28. The 2 Yates Fords working together. Jeff?
The one thing I'm noticing right now, guys, the last 2 times that Dale Earnhardt Jr. has had to pass that 11 car, he starts working him to the outside, the right rear quarter panel. Working. In the last second, it's almost like he gets him a little loose, and then he slides by on that right-hand side, and both times that pass has worked on the 11 car.
I wish you would look at this right here. I mean, we're 3 wide, we're 4 wide. If there was enough room, they'd be 5 wide right now.
Yeah, there's a sign down that says 2 wide, I think.
2 wide, as in T-O-O.
Yeah, T-O-O.
Jeff Gordon was the car that made it 4 wide, and you see him alone in what is now the 4th lane and backing up. And on point.
Now that's Scott Riggs in the 66 car right now. He, like Kurt Busch, he's 1 lap down, hoping to get a caution flag, and he'd get it the hard way. Right now, it looks like that David Stremme in the 40 car, substituting for Franchitti, he's actually a lap down, so he's up there trying to fight for this. David Stremme actually led that lap.
My fault, Larry. I thought Stremme was a lap down. He is in the number 40 this week because yesterday Dario Franchitti got a late hit on a caution after Franchitti had cut a tire and spun down to the apron, broke his ankle, not in the race. So Stremme behind the wheel, and my mistake, I thought he was lapped down, but he's right up there.
And remember, he's very comfortable in that car, Mike, because that's his old car. He drove that car last year. The crew chief on that car was his crew chief from last year,
Steve Lane.
So he's very comfortable driving that car.
Had a great run yesterday, finished second in the Nationwide Series race.
Jeff Burton almost got turned around. It was David Rudiman was right up behind Burton, and you could see the whole right side of his car going into the tri-oval.
I'm just not feeling real good about this, y'all.
Watch the 31, bottom left of the replay screen, and Rudiman gives him a rub at the wrong time.
That is a fast place of the racetrack, and we think about it as a front stretch, but you're turning quite a bit there.
Not a lot of banking. Less than 18 degrees, running through there at a couple 100 miles an hour.
Burton shook it off. Here he comes back, fighting on the outside, trying to get toward the front.
Listen to those engines, Larry, just singing, man, at 8,500.
And they never change.
And the pitch
never changes. Casey Kane in that 9 car, he'll lead that lap, and he's got a couple of Dodges behind him. Got a teammate pushing, Elliott Sadler to 19, and there's Stremme again in that 40 car.
That 9 car was in jeopardy of going a lap down before that last caution, and now he's leading the race.
Casey Kane becomes the 17th different driver to lead here today.
We've had 37 lead changes, but remember, that's at the start-finish line. We've probably had double that.
Here comes Junior yet again, and look who's right with him.
The old 20 car, Tony.
Big orange.
Dadgum.
"47 laps to go in Talladega."
Breathe, Darrell, breathe.
Go to commercial.
NASCAR on Fox, we are under caution for the second time today. 45 laps to go, and Tony Stewart, who was leading with a right front tire problem. This is an AT&T race break.
Yeah, he's right now right in behind and being pushed by Dale Earnhardt Jr. He goes off in the turn. It looked like maybe Junior got into this a little bit. All of a sudden the car slides up the racetrack, and fortunately for Tony, the right front tire did go down, but he was able to keep it off the safety barrier. And if he can get back to pit road and not tear that right front fender up, he may be okay as far as that's concerned, Chris.
And we were coming up on pit stops anyway in the next, 18, 20 laps?
You see right there, Patrick Carpentier also gets in the outside wall in that 10 car, but you're talking about being lucky. Tony Stewart is extremely lucky. He does have some damage to the right side of that car, but the main thing is as long as that front fender nose stays intact, I believe Greg Zipadelli and this Joe Gibbs team can fix his car and get him back up there.
Tony Stewart had said a high-speed chess game. That's how he looks at Talladega, but he admits he's been a better checkers player.
Well, I think he got it figured out yesterday, and he had a pretty good ride today if they can just get this car back on the car. And, Matt, what does it look like from down there?
Well, they're already going to work on the left side, but the right front tire down to the inner liner. Stewart came on the radio as Ira Joe Hussey and the crew guys are going to look at that right front. They've got some time under caution to try to massage that right front fender, but Stewart said, pass on to Junior that he did nothing wrong. My tire was going down.
And earlier, interesting that we've had some tire problems. Carl Edwards talked about camber when the problems that created the tire wear.
Yeah, that's the thing is right now we've been seeing this problem all day long, so it's not surprised to see that. It looks like a lot of cars right now getting ready to come to pit road. It'll probably be a final stop.
And if you want to get an exclusive look inside the world of Richard Childress Racing, Jeff Burton in the 31 Chevrolet, because of AT&T, you can, using cellular video on your AT&T handset, you can access all the inside RCR content. Tony Stewart has led the most laps today, 60 plus.
And the good thing right now, guys, like I said before, he was able to beat pace car back off of pit road, so he's still on the lead lap.
This has been an AT&T race break. Let's rejoin as they come down pit road. Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Well, the pits are open, and here they all come, Steve.
It's going to be 4 tires for Jeff Burton, Mike, and crew chief Scott Miller says pack that thing as full of fuel as you can. 4 tires for Jeff Burton. Matt.
And the 88 of Junior's in. Tony Jr. making the call. Just going to go right side. Junior stalled it. Junior stalled it. He finally refires, and he's away, Krista.
Kevin Harvick has to take 4 tires because he's going to be short on fuel. They may have to come back in for a splash and go. Dick.
Well, Denny Hamlin has already left his pit stop, and once again they have taken right side tires and fuel. They did debate whether they should take just fuel alone. It was Hamlin who decided that he wanted the right side tires, said that he could make up the time on the racetrack.
Thanks, Dick. Brian Vickers needed a push start to get off pit road. Kenny Schrader has taken his car to the garage area. Great qualifying effort, started 3rd today. And Kurt Busch is the recipient of the free pass on this, the 3rd caution of the day.
The real winner right there, Greg Biffle, the 16 car, picked up 10 spots. But as you heard Jeff Hammond say, this, I think, would be the last pit stop because it comes with 43 laps to go.
And the 20 car is not hurt. I mean, he scraped that right side up a little bit, but I saw no chassis damage, and I saw no problem with the front end of that car.
Another beautiful thing about this new car.
Another look at what put Tony Stewart into the wall. No contact from Dale Jr. A cut tire put Stewart in the fence, but he's back on track.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is delivered by UPS, the official express delivery company of NASCAR.
UPS delivers up to the minute race information at foxsports.com. Keyword Fox Tracks. While we're under caution, let's look back at Talladega history, brought to you by Ford. Drive One. Back in the fall of 2005, Dale Jarrett, driving the number 88 Ford, was side by side for the lead with Tony Stewart when a crash brought out the caution, and Jarrett was the leader at the time of the caution and was awarded the victory. Ford. Drive One. Today we are 41 laps from the checkered flag. There's the indication of 1 lap to go, and we'll restart after the 3rd single car accident of the day to put us under caution.
We just saw a little insurance bill with some of the Hendrick cars, some of the Richard Childress cars, because again, we got 41 laps to go, which is just right at that fuel window, but you always got to remember green, white, checkered. So you need that little bit of fuel, and I think that's what those guys were doing there.
I think you're right, Larry. This is setting up to be real exciting.
Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart get tires and fuel. So does Patrick Carpentier. The only cars out of the race, Ken Schrader, Carl Edwards, and Reed Sorensen.
I think that 20 car will be faster, to tell you the truth. He snared her up a little bit.
18 different leaders, 42 lead changes, 11 of them being Dale Earnhardt Jr. As we get set for the restart, Denny Hamlin leading Ryan Newman, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Greg Biffle, and Casey Kane are the front 5 for this Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Live Claret and Clear indoors and out. Robbie Gordon now the first car 1 lap down on the inside lane in front of Scott Riggs.
And Robbie's got a good car. I mean, he's had a shot at getting that lap back a couple of times, and it's getting back to him now because Kurt Busch and the 18 car Kyle Busch, they've all gotten back on the lead lap, so he's got a good shot at getting back on the lead lap too.
Strong drive for Brian Vickers in 6th, the past winner here. David Stremme in 7th, David Rudiman in 8th, Martin Truex and Paul Menard teammates 9th and 10th. Green flag, 40 to go.
We now have 31 cars on the lead lap, and all but 3 of the cars that started this race still out on the racetrack.
It'll take Hamlin until the exit of turn 4 to come all the way up to full speed.
Kind of a set and duck out there unless Ryan Newman decides to duck in there and push him. Got a big jump off that restart, but here comes the rest of the pack.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. getting a push from Greg Biffle. We saw right before we went to commercial how much they gained on pit road. They gained 10 spots with that 16 car.
Well, 11 cars out front now, Larry. Let's just see if he can stay there or not, because that seems to be, that car doesn't seem to want to lead, but it sure does push people to the front.
He's not even going to lead this lap. It doesn't look like Dale Earnhardt Jr. with the push from Biffle. He'll lead that lap.
two of the Gibbs Toyotas with trouble, mired back at 15th as Kyle Busch trying to scratch and claw his way back to the front. And what about the damage to Tony Stewart for bouncing off the wall? Here's Matt.
39 laps to go. Greg Zipadelli, damage-wise, how does your car stand?
I think it's okay. I mean, the right side has got a little damage, right front fender, but I hope everything's okay. This Home Depot Toyota was pretty strong all weekend. Now, you know, it's time to go racing. Hopefully we can get with a couple good cars and get to find a way back to the front. You know, everybody's going to get all spread out now. It's going to be real tough to get back up there, but we got the man to do it if we can.
Right before the restart, Mike, Stewart said, I've got some kind of vibration. Something doesn't feel right. He hit pit road. He had a flat left rear tire.
Stewart was 30th last time by. His teammate Danny Hamlin up front.
I'm going to tell you what happened that time. Dale Earnhardt Jr. led lap 149. That was lap 50. How does the draft work? He crossed the line in 19th. Lost 19 spots. He got kicked to the high side going off into turn 3.
Ever watch that movie Jaws? You know that music in there?
Yes.
Dun-dun, dun-dun. Yeah.
We had a driver nicknamed Jaws once upon a time.
Oh, yeah. He used them, too.
Cale Yarborough hung that nickname on DW.
Yeah, my old buddy. Short man.
You know, Mike, you were mentioning in qualifying the other day, Talladega is known for first-time winners. And right now, even though we've got 38 laps to go, I'm seeing guys looking for their first win up there in the top 10. You got Menard, you got Gilliland, you got Reagan, you got David Stremme, you got David Ruderman. A lot of guys hungry for that first win up there.
And I'm telling you, as I watch these cars, I could see somebody that's never won a race win today. Because, man, if you got the right shove at the end and you go the right way, you could win this race as easy as anybody.
Of the 9 who scored their first victory at Talladega, for all but 2 of those drivers, it was their only victory. Davey Allison and Ken Schrader went on to more wins, but look at this list of Talladega winners.
And you gotta be excited about this car. Remember the race here last fall when all they did was they kind of rode around all day at the top of the track? We have not had anybody riding around today.
You can't call this riding around. Oops, somebody below the line.
Somebody's on the apron.
Scott Riggs in the 66 car. I talked at the top of the show. That's out of bounds. As long as you don't gain positions, and he's going to lose a lot. And remember, Scott is a lap down trying to fight to stay up there to be the first car lap
He had
down.
to get, I think he must have gotten forced down there by the way that looked. I think he went down to keep him running over somebody.
They were 5 wide at that point, Darrell.
It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And we're looking at Michael Waltrip right now. I don't think we can say enough about the race that cat has had in that 15 car. He has been up at the front of the pack, Paul Menard, all day long. Really run a smart race.
But historically, Larry, he's a driver that's had trouble finding drafting partners. Now watch Denny Hamlin. He'll leave Menard, drop to the lower lane, and try and get past him.
I have no idea who led that lap. We're going to wait. Looks like David Gilliland led that lap in the 38 car on the bottom of the racetrack. Again, David started at the rear of the field.
And Menard's a good driver. Maybe he just doesn't have enough experience to have gained the trust of some of the veterans, as his outside lane seems to be backing up a bit.
You know,
that lap, Darrell, was led by David Gilliland.
A lot of times it's the uncertainty. You don't trust the guy because he does things that you don't expect him to do.
Steve.
Mike, David Gilliland finished 4th here in September, and as Larry Mack said, he's cut from the rear of the field. Just checked with the team there. Okay, they can make it to the end on fuel if it stays green.
Substitute Stremme leads this lap with an assist from Robbie Gordon.
With a heck of a push from Robbie Gordon in that 7 car.
Boy, Stremme had a 2nd place run here yesterday, did a great job, and he has given that 40 car a ride, boys.
Now, Robbie Gordon, he has not led this race. He'd love to get 5 points, but he's going to have his hands full down the back straightaway. Actually, Robbie is 1 lap down trying to get back on the lead lap.
It's going to be Hamlin and Menard, inside versus outside lane here. Menard in the 15. Stremme in the middle lane with the help from Elliott Sadler and Jeff Gordon.
But these cars are so good. Normally when a guy gets in the middle like that and you run up on him, you don't know what to do, and you run over him and cause a wreck. These cars just go where the other guy is, and you just go around him.
33 laps to go this time by. Hamlin will lead this lap. 4 wide again off into the corner.
Darrell, Hamlin is starting to flirt with the high line just a little bit. The same thing we saw him do a year ago.
His car just doesn't, I don't know. I think he said it. And I believe that tape, Larry, that came loose on the front of that car could possibly be hurting it when it's out front.
I believe you could be right. Hurts the downforce, hurts the drag mainly.
Take some speed away from it.
Toyota, Chevy, and Ford out front.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Wrigley's Chew Juicy Fruit, proud sponsor of Juan Pablo Montoya. By the Home Depot, NASCAR's home improvement warehouse. By Pepsi Stuff, drink Pepsi, collect points, get stuff. And by non-drowsy Claritin allergy products.
Denny Hamlin still the leader. Go to PepsiRacing.com and get a free song download from Pepsi Stuff. See the website for details. Well, Hamlin may be the leader. They may be single file for about 12 cars behind him, but then, oh my goodness, they came through the tri-oval 4 wide, and they're still 4 and 5 wide.
Yeah, that's a pack right there. They are pack racing. Looks like it looks like the 10 out in California. About
the
I-10. About 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Just 3 times as fast.
Oh, trouble! Here we go. Menard
straightaway
around.
Menard.
Stay down, stay down, stay down, stay down.
Lock it down.
He does.
Good job, man. 42 turns.
Wow. Everybody gets by.
Woo. Caution will fly.
Get it fired up. Get it fired up.
Larry, a couple teams will be glad to see that caution.
Yes, they will.
Very easy on those tires getting back around here. Very easy.
Anybody who might have been a little iffy on fuel or wondering?
I think everyone that was iffy, Mike, I think they came and topped off with one to go. So I think we're okay.
Paul Menard spun. Spotter said it was off the front bumper of Juan Montoya.
Whoa.
There's the contact. Fourth caution flag of the day. Paul Menard spun coming into the tri-oval off the front bumper of Juan Montoya. And you'll see the roof flaps that Jeff Hammond talked about in our safety report deploy.
The only thing I question is the 42 being below the yellow line, which gave him that angle to get up under the 15 like that. He gets into 15 right there. Then he drops the left side tires down below the yellow line, which gave him a shot at getting into the side of him. So if he'd have stayed above the line, I don't think that would have happened.
Show it to you from Fox 3D, which had a better angle on it than our camera did.
And I tell you what, headed into that part of the racetrack at 200 miles per hour, doesn't take a whole lot.
Both Montoya and his teammate David Stremme have both been cautioned by NASCAR about dropping tires below the yellow line.
A little late, I might add, but it's a great, I'm glad they saw that.
Robbie Gordon will get the free pass. Next Saturday night, we're in Richmond under the lights.
Saturday night short track racing.
Richmond will be packed, and many say it's one of the raciest tracks on the circuit.
Some of the best fights I've ever seen right Saturday night at a racetrack.
Drivers and crew chiefs are going to get a little bit on pins and needles. This is exciting, man.
Yeah, I fought the wall and the wall won.
Well, boys, let's just sit back and see what happens.
Coverage begins 7 p.m. Eastern right here on Fox. Under the lights in the capital of the South, Richmond, Virginia.
And you know what makes it a fun race, and qualifying included, is it's an impound race.
Yep, just like here.
Just like here this week. So knockout qualifying will be just as exciting as it was here.
Denny Hamlin may well be the car to beat here in Talladega. It'll be 25 laps to go when they get the green flag. We listened in to Hamlin and his team.
Coming back to 27 to go. The next Toyota is the 18. He's back in the 8th spot. He's been creeping his way back up. Those Dodges look like they're going to pour him up like they did at Daytona.
10-4, I'll do the best I can.
Hamlin's Toyota leads from David Reagan's Ford, and then the Dodges, Stremme, Montoya, and Ryan Newman. The Chevy, the Hendrick Chevy teammates, Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. Then Kyle Busch, who's fought his way back up to 8th. Casey Kane 9th, Jamie McMurray 10th. Tony Stewart apparently had more damage than was apparent, because he's climbed no higher than 28th in that last run.
And you just think about it, Chevrolet has won 17 of the last 18 races at this place. The one time they didn't win, talked about it a while ago, Dale Jarrett, October of 2005.
Ready to go green. It's a Claret and Clear to drive restart. Get Claret and Clear. Get back to feeling like yourself again.
I figured it out.
What's that?
Denny Hamlin was complaining about his foot going to sleep. He hadn't been holding it wide open, and now he's going to. He had his little caution period here, got that foot loosened up. He's going to hold it wide open now.
All four makes have cars in the top 10. Most of the drivers in the top 10 have a teammate nearby. Let's see what happens as we get the green with 25 laps to go.
I think as we look at this, there's guys that we've seen kind of come and go, but been near the front all day. And that guy running second right now is one of those people. That 6 car has been fast all day long, and he's been near the front all day long.
His closest teammate, however, Darrell, is Jamie McMurray back in 10th place. David Reagan from Georgia, whose father, Ken Reagan, ran a bunch of Cup races here through the mid-1980s. Cavalry coming.
Yeah, here we come. Ryan Newman, the 12, winner from the Daytona 500. Those two Hendrick Chevrolets, Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. And there's Kyle Busch in the 18 car that finally got back on the lead lap several laps ago.
Better be ready to make an evasive move if you're leading this thing right now, because they're coming with a head of steam. Reagan tried to block them, and they just drove right by him.
Dale Jr. and David Stremme on the bottom as they enter turn 1. Newman latched onto the 11 of Hamlin.
How about that 12 car, Larry? I mean, he was a sleeper at Daytona. Oh, got a piece of debris off the, like one of the Red Bull cars.
Looks like the tail panel, the part beneath the rear wing.
5th caution of the day. Let's see how that taillight panel came off of Brian Vickers' car.
Wow.
Got a little help maybe from that 19 car, Elliott Sadler.
Goodness.
Could you define help for us while we're in commercial?
I bet if you look at the front of Elliott Sadler's car, you'll see the evidence.
Okay. Caution is out again. Scott Riggs gets the free pass.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by State Farm, where great coverage meets great rates. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. By Toyota, moving forward. By Subway, where Tony Stewart goes to fuel up. Subway, race hard, eat fresh. And by Mobil 1, the world's leading synthetic motor oil. Put some NASCAR in your car with the One. Mobil 1. Two laps to go. Denny Hamlin, your leader, over Ryan Newman and David Reagan and Jeff. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who has led 12 different times in this race, is up to 4th. Jeff Gordon right behind him.
Well, he's probably in the best position right now. He's got him a dance partner and his teammate right there in Jeff Gordon. But again, when you turn around and look up who's leading this race, he's been up there all day long, Denny Hamlin, but he's also being followed by Ryan Newman, who won the Daytona 500. So this is really starting to shape up as a pushing, shoving, beating, banging, basically almost like a short track race at Talladega.
Ryan Newman and the fellow drivers of that manufacturer, 6 top spots out of the 10 from Daytona. They haven't had a race like that since, but they're in pretty good shape here to work together over these final 20-plus laps.
They are, and again, that's probably the thing that has to scare everybody the most, especially Denny Hamlin. He realizes all of a sudden he doesn't have a number of teammates. Even though Kyle Busch is finally starting to make his way back up through there, he could use some help all day long. It seems like when he gets the lead, they come up there and shove him out of the way. So I think he's got to be feeling like he's a sitting duck.
We've had the most leaders and lead changes of any race this year so far, and a lot more to come. Let's check in on that Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr. relationship at this stage, and Matt Yoka. Matt?
Hey, Chris, we talk a lot about how it's better sometimes to have a corporate teammate, a friend. Sometimes when you have a real teammate and things don't go the way, frustration tends to mount, and that was part of the radio conversation. Jeff Gordon was pretty much venting under this caution. He said basically that I've gone with Junior every chance I could get. A couple times I couldn't go with him, and he felt like that Junior almost hung him out a couple of times. But it's Talladega, it's restrictor plate racing, and sometimes frustration just mounts.
Junior. Thank you very much. Some interesting comments. This is a controversial place when Jeff Gordon wins, and you know Junior Nation isn't going to like to hear that.
Well, all I got to say about in defense of Dale Earnhardt Jr. has to be 70 races. Does that mean anything to you in one of your favorite racetracks? There shouldn't be any friends out there right now. You need to figure out a way how to be able to win this race, and I think that's number one on his agenda right now in that 88 car.
All right, for a dramatic finish, we hope. Let's go back up to Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Darrell, there's a lot of talk about lining up with somebody of the same manufacturer, but if there's somebody fast that can get you to the front, do you care what they're driving?
You really don't. And I tell you what, and I used the word several times, co-opetition. That's when the competition cooperates with each other for the betterment of both of them. And I don't care if you're driving a Chevrolet, a Dodge, a Ford, or a Toyota. If you can help me win this race, I'm going to give you a big old hug, buddy.
They opened this track in 1969, Larry. We talked the other day, you grew up 45 minutes away from here. What kind of mystery and mystique did this track hold for folks that were hanging out at the Birmingham Short Track?
Well, I don't think we ever visioned this type of a racetrack being in our area. I think it caught everyone off guard, and we're just so fortunate that Governor George Wallace, who was our governor then, with Bill France Sr., Bill France Jr., saw the vision of what this place would be. Hard to believe we've been racing here since 1969. It's been a big event.
I don't believe we ever visioned that 250,000 people would be sitting around this joint today watching a race either, and seeing the kind of race we're seeing. Maybe Big Bill did.
They're not sitting around. They're standing up now.
Well, I'm right there with them.
20 laps to go. Denny Hamlin has been one of the most aggressive drivers all day, and he has one of the strongest cars here. Can his FedEx team hold on and win it? Right behind him, the Daytona 500 champion Ryan Newman, and then David Reagan's Ford and Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon in Chevrolets. Green flag.
And we've got 33 cars on the lead lap. The way things happen here, you almost can't rule any of those 33 cars out of this thing.
3 wide, turn 2. Stremme in the 40, giving Jeff Gordon a good push.
Well, you get the good run on the high side, especially on a restart, trying to get that thing wound up.
And that's just what Jeff Gordon was looking for. And, you know, Jeff's been kind of laying in the weeds, I think. So we'll see. Jeff Gordon, there comes Kyle Busch. He's finally back in the picture.
And we just saw, Darrell, why you don't want to lead here. Denny Hamlin got a little too far out in front of those cars, and he paid the price. He was a sitting duck.
He needs somebody to get behind him and be his afterburner, like he's done to other people a couple of times.
Well, that somebody could be the 9 of Casey Kane coming right up there with Hamlin.
Could very well be. That outside with 2 cars really moves. Boy, Junior just forced his way right in there, and he said, I'll help you.
And he's getting a push from Kurt Busch in a 2-car. Kurt spent most of this race down a lap here. He's fighting his way into the top 10.
Well, when you're down a lap and you get it back, you got to have a pretty good race car. Well, Montoya, they just shook him out, put him 3 wide.
Ooh, he almost got into Junior. That yellow car.
No, he did get into Junior.
Ryan Newman, who won the first ever victory for Roger Penske's team at a restrictor plate track after years of trying in February. He's the leader.
And David Stremme right there in 3rd place. What an incredible job he has done today. And another David right behind him, Reagan. These 2 guys, young guys, have done a great job today. Yeoman's job.
Now we're riding with McMurray in that 26 car on the high side, getting a push from Montoya in the 42 car. But it looks like right now that inside line is really moving.
And where is Denny Hamlin? He's dropped to 12th.
It doesn't take long at this place. Look at the move that Kyle Busch made in that 18 car. It's not going to work.
He saved it.
And McMurray saved it.
Unbelievable. You cannot do that.
Remember,
oh my God,
200 miles an hour, that was happening.
It's got to be the wing. Every time I see that, I say you can't do that. It's got to be that big old wing back there.
Straightens the car right out.
It's incredible.
I can't believe both those drivers saved it.
That's a big wreck any other time we've been here.
In front of the whole field.
And even with a damaged car, Tony Stewart has caught this lead pack. He may still be a factor before this one's over.
You got to see this. This is a wreck, okay?
Right in the middle of the screen, the 26 McMurray.
A year ago, this happened to that 18 car. He would have been upside down.
What a save. 2 of them. Joe Gibbs is an interested onlooker as well at that one.
He's just shaking his head.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Coach, not only is your hair a little gray, you're going to not have any when this is over with. Gosh.
Look how strong Newman is. He's been able to hold off Jeff Gordon. Wonder if Gordon is waiting. If he waits too long, Kyle Busch is going to come steaming up the outside and steal the lead from both of them.
You know what Gordon's like, right? He's like Clint Eastwood. How many more bullets I got left in this gun? Have I fired 5 times or have I fired 6? You never know about him.
Speaking of bullets, look at the 48 car there. He has been outside the top 20 most of this race. I think Chad Canals finally told him, Jimmy, it's time to go. You see him there right behind Michael Waltrip in the 55.
Larry, you did notice that the 18 just shot out front, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
4 wide.
I mean, there's nowhere to go back there. They're 4 wide by 4 by 4 by 4.
For heaven's sake. Where's that 20 car at?
Right there on the bottom.
He has fought his way back. I didn't think that car was hurt.
15 laps to go. Quapple to the outside in the 28. No help.
Look at this. I just want you to realize something, guys. They're doing 190 miles an hour.
The top 31 cars a second from each other.
Oh, there we go. Here we go.
Here we go.
Big one.
Was Bobby Labonte getting turned. Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart, the one, Martin Truex in it, and Jamie McMurray knocked down to the inside wall.
Yeah, but I can finish, I think. So we have to come in.
We were lucky we didn't have more cars that were involved in that.
Man. Stewart for the second time today, and Kurt Busch in the 2. Truex.
It's just so typical of this place. I mean, you go, and you just get too comfortable, and you get careless.
Now, I think the first car I saw sideways was Bobby Labonte, but I believe there had to be contact. And there's the back of Junior's car.
88's got trouble, but it doesn't look bad. That looks bad.
Yeah.
All right, now watch 43 on the right of your screen, Labonte. Let's see if that's where this starts.
There's Stewart on the end, going in there. They're starting to bang into each other. Oh,
Junior gets
Junior
and then gets
turned.
Bobby Labonte.
Nowhere for Truex to go. Nowhere for Jamie McMurray or Kurt Busch in the 2 to go.
It just gets too crowded right in here. I mean, you do 4 or 5 cars bouncing around there. Stewart's trying to, I think he was trying to force his way in between the 43 and the 88, and it just wasn't enough room.
I think Tony had contact there with Joe Nemechek in the 78 and Bobby Labonte and forward into Dale Jr.
Yeah, and you just get to bouncing around, and you can't do anything. You just got to. You see the 43 down below the yellow line, and Stewart gets into the 88.
The damage from on Dale Earnhardt Jr. came from Bobby Labonte's 43 car.
Boy, Jeff Burton made a great save, trying to hang on to the point lead here. Hard on the brakes and then drove through the middle of it.
This is outside there.
From Dale Jr.
2 inside there. That's 2 inside there. Keep digging, man. That's 20 you got in your bumper there. Big wreck behind you.
And let's watch
outside there. That's not your fault.
Let's watch from Denny Hamlin. Watch Jeff Burton in that 31.
Slow up. You're good. Go down low. Go down low. Go to the apron. You're clear to go back up. Go back up.
Casey Mears in the 5.
Good job there, Denny.
Hamlin and Burton did a great job of avoiding all this.
Great job of that spot.
Yes, there you go.
Now, like that.
Watch coming up. Watch keep.
This is Jamie Mack.
All right, clear low. So you got the spun there. You got it right in the middle of it. Had nowhere to go. Did you hit anything?
All right, Digger's turn.
I don't think Digger's going to like this. Oh. Gosh, poor old Digger. He's been there all day, just been watching the race.
But Darrell, you're right. As far as Curtis Markham, Denny Hamlin's spotter, his voice never changed pitches. Just talked him right through
Talked him right to it. Great job.
You saw Tony Stewart had driven his car back to the garage and climbed out. Stewart came in here 7th in points. And repairs to the right quarter panel of Dale Jr.'s number 88. 13 laps to go in the Aaron's 499 at Talladega. We're far from over, folks, so stay with us. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. Cleaning up the 6th caution of the day, a 5-car crash down in turn number 1. And we hope to go green here in just about half a lap of caution. Kyle Busch out front of Juan Pablo Montoya and Ryan Newman. Let's go to the garage, Matt Yoakum.
You can hear they're using the Sawzall on the 20 car, what's left of it. Smoke, walk us through what happened with this incident.
I went to the second lane there and was there for a short amount of time, and I thought we were all right. And then the closer we got to turn 1, the smaller that hole got. So I was as close to Bobby as I could get right there, and it just the hole closed up. So that's what happens late in these races. If it was my fault, I'm sorry. I mean, by looking at the video, though, I don't feel like I did anything wrong, really.
A lot of aggressive driving out there, a lot of complaints on the radio about other people.
The majority of the day, we had a great day going. I mean, we were really in good shape with this Home Depot car till we had the right front go down, and then that got us in the back. And, as late as it is in the race, with 15 laps to go, you've got to sit there and do what you can to get those spots back.
Tony Stewart out of the race. We go green with 11 laps to go.
I totally agree with Tony, though. He didn't force it. He started in there and it closed up.
Right. Michael Waltrip took the restart in 6th place. That's David Stremme just ahead.
New group of players at the front of the field, guys.
Yes, sir.
A bunch of new guys up here that we haven't seen all day.
Here goes David Stremme in the 40 car, pushing Jeff Gordon in the 24, trying to push him up toward the front.
Gordon won last April from the pole, last October from 34th. He has led only 1 lap today.
Now just watch that 48 car. Jimmy Johnson jumped to the high side, pulled up behind Michael Waltrip in the 55, getting a push from our pole sitter, Joe Nemechek. And look at Paul Menard in the 15. He was spun out not that many laps ago. He's working his way back to the front.
Well, Kyle Busch came from a lap down, and Darrell, you're right. He came back. He leads this race.
Yeah, but
with
just
10
hang
to go.
on. Hold on to your hat. Here comes the 48 and the 55. They're going to do that 2-car thing, go right to the lead.
Kyle Busch coming up the racetrack, trying to block.
And Montoya, he took a peek to the inside. So Kyle Busch right now trying to figure out which one of those lines is going to move. It's going to be the outside line with Michael Waltrip.
Leading here, Darrell. There's no way to be 3-lane lane.
Right there. 42 to you. You're
going to have to line up and do it again. They got a run on him that time, and Michael couldn't stay there. He couldn't. Jimmy couldn't keep up.
Darrell, it's almost like
on the gap, 24-42.
They could do a better job when they were further away from him on the side.
Yeah, you get a huge side draft. The big sides on these cars are so flat, you just get a huge side draft.
Kyle Busch leads this race. Let's go to his pit, Steve.
Steve Eddington, you guys went down a lap after you missed the pits on lap 61. How have you gotten back to the front?
Well, when the lead pack called us there, we had a strong enough race car to hang there with Tony and Denny, and caught the caution, got us back on the lead lap, and he was really smart and waited and patient to get back to the front.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Boy, I tell you what, Michael and Jimmy Johnson. Michael was down low and Jimmy started by on the outside, and Michael drove right up in front of him. Jimmy really cut him a lot of slack, but here they come. Seems like he can just get that huge run off turn 4 with 2 cars.
Especially when you've got that much gap to the side of you. They'll be coming 8 to go this time.
What will Jeff Gordon do if his teammate Jimmy Johnson moves on past? Will he come up and pick up Johnson?
Look at that.
No, he stays in the low lane as Johnson pushes Waltrip into the lead.
Right to the lead.
8 to go.
Now the question is, you got to have a good car to stay there. 2 cars can get there, but you got to have a heck of a car to stay there. And look at that outside line again.
Caution. The yellow flag waves for the 7th time today. Bobby Labonte,
who was involved in that last crash. You would tend to believe that there were still problems on that race car. Looks like right there, the right rear tire is down.
Yeah, he's probably rubbed a hole in it. A lot of damage around the right rear.
Now, how they will reline these cars is not exactly at the moment of caution. They go back to the last scoring loop when the caution came out, so it could vary from where they were when the caution came out.
And I really think if you're Michael or even Jimmy Johnson, this is not good news to get a caution now.
Especially not for Michael Waltrip, because look at the last restart, Darrell, where Denny Hamlin jumped out of the head of the pack, was a sitting duck, lost the lead in the back straightaway. This will be a single file restart because we're under 10 laps to go, and also there will be no free pass.
Single file restarts are tough from anybody on about 10th on back because you restart so far behind the lead cars when you're single file.
7 to go now, so we'll probably get the restart with 5 laps to go. And Darrell, for anybody in that top 10, that's plenty of time here.
Oh yeah, right now you got to figure out who is going to help me win this race. There's no way that you can win this race without help. You got to have a helper.
Michael Waltrip has 4 Sprint Cup wins. They have all come in restrictor plate races, driving for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, 3 at Daytona, and here in October 2003.
And Mike, to follow up on what Darrell just said, it's picking the right helper. Remember, that was one of our keys to the race. And to answer your question, I think now with as many good cars as we got up there, your helper, your partner, has nothing to do with manufacturer, has nothing to do with teammates.
Let me put it to you like this. You're up there, you say, does anybody want to run second? That's what you're looking for. Somebody that's willing to run second.
I concur.
I think the wild card in this front 5 may well be Juan Pablo Montoya running in 4th. Krista's in his pit.
That's right, Mike. I am with the Wild Cards crew chief. Jimmy Yellis, your first race with this team. Things are going pretty well so far. How do you think these last few laps are going to play out?
Yeah, things are going great. You know, really proud to be a part of this Wrigley's Juice Fruit team, and I don't know, it's like you work all day to get in this position and hope that, it works out. I mean, there's still a lot of racing left to do in these 5 laps we're going to have. So, I don't know. I think I feel pretty good about where we're at right now. I think that, I don't know, worry about that 24, though. He's always pretty good at it. So, we'll see what happens. I mean, we've had a great day no matter what, and see if we can get the best finish we can.
Right before this interview, Jimmy looked at me and said, it's about to get exciting.
Thanks, Krista. They get the 1 to go sign here at the start-finish line, which is past the end of pit road, not in the middle of the tri-oval as it is at Daytona. If we were at Daytona right now, that line would be way up the racetrack, and a lot of races have changed hands here in those last 1,000 feet or so, as Darrell Waltrip explained to us in his drive and ride.
Look where the start-finish line is. Normally, I would be at the line now, but look where they put it. Just to make it fun, just to make it interesting. There it is, right there. That makes this racetrack, the race normally is over by the time you come off turn 4 in most places. Here, it's just starting.
Little Birdie told me you were clocked at 190 in that car the other day.
How about 2-something?
I wasn't going to say that.
Anyway, that car was fast, but that line is the X factor, because I can't tell you how many races I've seen won and lost from that middle of that tri-oval down to this line.
And I think you have been part of that equation a time or two.
Ron Bouchard beat me and Terry Labonte here in 1981 or 2, whatever it was.
81.
Slid by us and beat us to the line down here. Just last year we saw Bobby Labonte squeeze Tony Stewart out at the line to win the Saturday race. So that line creates a lot of havoc.
Michael Waltrip left Dale Earnhardt Incorporated to form his own race team, which quickly grew like Topsy from 1 to 2 to 3 cars. Had a little bit of controversy, came back, and now he's in a position maybe to win this.
You see that hand out there. I think what you'll see Michael do is he will signal Jimmy Johnson when he gets ready to go. I think he'll tell Jimmy, I think he'll put that hand over there and possibly let Jimmy know when he's getting ready to go.
Looking at the top 13 cars, They're single file, but no driver in the top dozen has the same make of car behind him. So you're going to make your friends where you find them right now for these last 5 laps.
Well, I told you when this race started, I'll take my brother at Daytona and Talladega anytime.
5 to go. Here we go. Green flag.
Look at him. Michael was all over. He wasn't looking at anything. He wasn't looking down toward turn 1. He's looking back behind him. Look at him right now. Look at those eyes.
Boy, Kyle Busch, that 18, got a great restart, though. He has been locked to the rear bumper of his former teammate Jimmy Johnson in that 48.
4-car breakaway. Waltrip, Johnson, along with Busch and Montoya. Now the pack beginning to catch them up in
what
the
they
backstretch.
got to worry about, these guys leading right, they got to worry about some getting up on the outside here. There comes Jeff Gordon. We've seen what 2 cars on the outside can do. They can haul mail.
And there goes
contact.
Jimmy Johnson to the bottom, got Kyle Busch and Jeff Gordon pushing him.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson just moved Michael out of the way. Oh, can't do that. Well, you can.
I think they may deem that he was forced down there, Darrell.
Well, he certainly was. I go along with that, but that was really, really marginal.
New leader, Kyle Busch, 4 laps to go.
Jimmy Johnson and the Michael Waltrip, they're hooked on the high side there with no help.
Yeah, they're going backwards fast.
Johnson drops in line, 10th. Who will be the next to come to the outside and challenge?
Well, that's the thing. There's Jimmy Johnson. We know he's plenty fast enough, and I don't know who that is that just pulled out over there.
Brian Vickers in the 83 car, but with no help.
That's an uh-oh right there. Uh-oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Backing
Goodbye.
up just a little.
Goodbye, Brian.
15 Talladega races. 4 of the last 5 have been won by a last lap pass. Will it happen again?
I think it's shaping up for that. We'll be coming 3 laps to go. Kyle Busch in the 18, he'll be hooked to the bottom of the racetrack.
There's just not anybody there that can jump to the outside with help. Jimmy Johnson is back here, but he's too far back.
There is a lineup, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Newman, Montoya, Stremme, all in Dodges. Will they go together?
I think they're going to have to time it, Darrell. You'll have to time it at the right time.
Well, these guys up here on the outside coming off turn 2, we've seen them absolutely get a sudden burst of speed, but they're not grouping up right. They're losing.
Maybe it's too soon.
I can't help but think Jeff Gordon all week long said, I don't want to be leading this race at the end. When we come to the white flag, I want to be running 2nd. That's where he's running now. And when we come to 2 to go.
I got to believe if Kyle Busch was my teammate last year, I would want to try to beat him this year, since he isn't.
2 laps to go. And Gordon stays right there, pinned to the back bumper of Kyle Busch.
Oh, it's going to get, this is just setting up right now that it's going to get wild going down the back into turn 3. Here we go.
Boyer looks high. Hamlin just moved Boyer out of the way.
Well, Boyer was going to go the outside. He hoped Hamlin would go with him, and he didn't. That's the problem you have.
There goes Montoya in the 42 car, and his teammate Stremme's going to go with him. Kyle Busch puts the block on Gordon.
Montoya to the bottom.
24, you want the bottom. Bottom is moving.
Gordon has Stremme. Is it enough help to get to the front?
I tell you, there's anybody's game right now. It's still anybody's race.
And look at the top side. Jeff Gordon, Michael Waltrip, Jimmy Johnson, they're fighting back.
Gordon lost a bit of momentum and lost his help. Here they come to the line. White flag. 1 lap to go. Kyle and trouble. A spin in the trial. Michael McDowell has spun. The white flag is out.
No caution. No caution.
If he can get out of the racetrack, we shouldn't have a caution.
Kyle Busch
still leading.
Oh, trouble. A big one.
Much worse.
Turn 2.
48.
Keep rolling.
We still are not cautioned. Caution is out.
They got cars out. We got to stop.
That's ours.
That's it. You can't. The race is over.
Because we took the white flag.
We're in the white flag lap. The race is over. What a wreck.
Kevin Harvick in the 29 car.
Well, I don't really believe in betting a whole lot, but I would have bet you we'd end like this.
That's Regan Smith. And Kyle Busch.
Oh, man, I don't believe it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, M&M. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff, you are my man.
Checkered flag. Kyle Busch. Rowdy Busch wins at Talladega. Steve Burns.
And my congratulating his race team. Great comeback win. Joe, you guys got a lap down. Describe what this feels like.
I tell you, this is a great feeling. I'm so happy for Eminem and Mars, Kyle. Denny got back up there. I felt bad for Tony today, Home Depot. Got a tire down, got ourselves back there, stuck in doing a wreck. It was a great day for our race team. FedEx, the 11 car. But it was great for Kyle. He's been red hot. He's super competitive. Today, he had to come all the way from the back, and Lord bless us with a great day. We got a bunch of great guys and got a great sponsors. We're really proud of them.
Congratulations, Joe.
And a great Toyota.
Back Mike Joy.
Thanks, Steve. Michael McDowell spun in the tri-oval. That, however, did not bring out a caution. He was pretty much trailing the field. A little contact with his teammate David Rudiman and Greg Biffle, and around goes McDowell.
Yeah, that wasn't a problem because he was able to get out of the way, or at least we were thinking he was going to. But this down here is where the problem comes. Oh, looked like it.
McMurray moved up, but did he have help?
I think Junior may have. I don't know if Junior got in the back of McMurray and shot him up the hill or not. And then 40 car.
And then everybody.
And poor Strimmy had a great run all day. Well, all these guys did really, but.
Nemechek, the pole sitter.
Jimmy Johnson was involved, the 48 car.
Harvick, Casey Kane, Elliott Sadler. A wild finish to another race at Talladega, and the wild thing, Kyle Busch came from a lap down to go to victory lane next. Kyle Busch has 7 victories in 2008, 3 in the Nationwide Series, 2 now in Sprint Cup, and 2 in the Craftsman Truck Series. It's his 6th career victory in this series and the 2nd win here for car owner Joe Gibbs. Dick Berggren down there in Gatorade Victory Lane.
Yeah, indeed, it's his 2nd Sprint Cup win of the year. Traditional wisdom is you don't want to be leading here at the very tail end of the race. You did it. How'd you win?
First Jeff Gordon and then Juan Montoya. Those guys behind me were pretty awesome and helping push us, and we just man, we just kept blocking them like we needed to in order to stay up front there and keep ahead of them. And this M&M's Toyota, man, this thing was strong. It wasn't as strong as we would have liked. I don't think it was as good as the 20 was today, but you know, this Toyota had enough horsepower in it to power us to the win. And you know, I can't say enough about these guys with Joe Gibbs Racing, all these M&M's boys. And you know, we really want to thank all these fans here in Talladega as well for being here and supporting NASCAR racing. And you know, glad we were able to bring one home today.
Traditional wisdom is that this has not been your best racetrack. Lots of crashes preceding today. How meaningful is it for you to finally win here at Talladega?
I bet you my grandma's back at home on the couch just pulling her hair out, but we're good at Grandma. We're in victory lane today. So Mom's here. She just walked around, and I'm sure my dad's jumping for joy as well, too. It's been so long, and I don't think I've ever finished one here without wrecking, so or without being tore up at least. So today definitely means a whole bunch, and you know, to be able to have our teammates there working with us in the beginning, and then, like I said, there at the end with Juan Montoya and Jeff Gordon, owe a lot to those guys.
Congratulations to you. Krista Voda.
Our 2nd place finisher, Juan Pablo Montoya, just talking with his new crew chief, Jimmy Elledge. And it wasn't that long ago that you made your stock car debut here at this track. You almost won a race here. That was incredible.
Yeah, we're getting closer. You know, the team is doing such a good job. You know, Juicy Fruit Dodge has been amazing. And just everybody, Chip Ganassi, you know, we had a new crew chief this race, and it was first race with him, and we got a good result, so it was nice to see that.
And Juan Montoya, you just moved into the top 12 in points with that finish.
Well, you know, great, but it's such a long way. You know, we just got to keep finishing races and take advantage of races like this when we run well.
Montoya 2nd at Talladega. Matt?
Definitely the e-ticket ride for a number of fans watching today and also for the drivers. How would you sum up this day to all your buddies at home watching?
I mean, if the fans didn't like that, you just don't like racing. That was amazing. First of all, to get the business out of the way, 35 years for all FedEx employees this weekend, so celebrating for them. You know, congratulations to all of them. And you know, our team was just on it. Joe Gibbs Racing, the 20, the 18, the 11 was flying all day long. It seems like anybody I got in behind, I could just shove them right to the front with relatively ease. So.
Any crazy moments?
Yeah, the whole race is crazy. I mean, other than a little bit of single file racing there, but I think everyone just got answered. We knew it was a fun racing, so we decided to go out there and give the fans a show. And you know, it's just ecstatic for the way our car ran. We didn't get the win, even though we felt like we had the best car, but a win for Joe Gibbs Racing. And the engine room, I cannot say enough for Mark Conquest. I mean, I've never had some power like I had today.
And it certainly showed. First and third for JGR. Steve?
Well, Matt, with David Reagan, great finish, David. You're in and out of the top 5, but basically up in there all day in a top 5 finish.
It was a lot of fun. Everyone would probably have liked to race back to the checkered except the 18. I was really looking forward to see what we could get worked out going down the back straightaway. Our AAA Ford was really good all day. Got to get it to Jimmy Finning and all of our AAA pit crew. Got me in and out of the pits pretty good, and really made my job a lot easier being up toward the front all day.
Nice job. See you in Richmond.
All right, thank you.
Typical of Talladega, the race changed in an instant. Here's our Sprint Mobile monster moment with NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. Follow the race instantly. One more look at it. It's on the left. It all came undone right there. Nobody likes to see the big one at Talladega. I wouldn't call it inevitable, but it's pretty close. None of the top 25 finishers in this race had a teammate right behind them.
I tell you, though, this was Talladega never disappoints you. Yeah. And this race was one of I love this race. It was fun to watch this new car, how these guys operated with this new car, and how resilient this car is, and how great a show it put on today. We saw a great race today. I hate what happened at the end there, but that's part of Talladega.
And I think that was a concern, because if we go back to the first time we raced this car here in October, a lot of single file follow the leader. It didn't let us down today. 51 lead changes among 20 drivers, and that was at the start-finish line. We talked to David Reagan. Let's give a shout-out to Brian Vickers, who finished 5th. How about Travis Quapple, that finished 6th, and Casey Mears, that finished 7th? Guys that we didn't get to talk a lot about today.
And all but unnoticed. On the last restart, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was 28th. He finished 10th.
He had a fast car.
Yes, he did.
That pass for the lead that put Kyle Busch out front. Remember, he came from a lap down after missing his pit. He didn't miss his pit stall. He couldn't make the left turn. There was a car inside him. He couldn't get to his pit. And here he came behind Jimmy Johnson, ahead of Jeff Gordon. Little muscle down to the inside. And off he goes to victory lane.
And remember, with less than 10 to go, he was wrecked over in turn 3. Just didn't hit nothing.
It all changes in an instant at Talladega.
In the world of auto racing, teamwork is the key to success.
And the same is true off the track.
That's why Fox Sports is proud to team up with Autism Speaks,
to make a difference in the lives of children with autism.
Autism is a complex brain disorder that now affects 1 in 150 children.
But with your help, we can change the future for all those who struggle with this heartbreaking disorder.
Please visit autismspeaks.org to learn more about autism.
With your help, we can help.
Double check your belts and everything there. Green flag, one outside. Making a run about 10 back. Not catching that quick. Clear, all clear, all clear, all clear. They're coming outside, all clear. Wreck behind you, 17, hit the finish. Oh man, that was bad.
Welcome back live here in Talladega at Kyle Busch, who will celebrate his 23rd birthday later this week with another win for Toyota. You count the Nationwide, the Truck Series. He's already won 7 races this year, part of the support group for his Sprint Cup team. As we go back to some of the key moments, and Kyle Busch with Jamie McMurray here, going at 200 miles per hour. Just great save there and determination. Even Joe Gibbs was impressed. This 6-car pile up here. Look at Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the middle of that. Affects everybody from Tony Stewart to Dale Earnhardt Jr., changing the shape of the finish of this race.
This definitely changed the complex of this race. But right here on this restart after that, you notice all of a sudden Kyle Busch was able to muscle his way around Jimmy Johnson and then leader Michael Walker. But right there at the end of the race, basically everything just kind of like came undone on that final lap. And again, we had another massive crash. We said at the very beginning when Larry Mack put the keys to the race, avoid the big one. Well, that's what Kyle Busch did all day long. In the end, he's the guy who got to go to victory lane.
Celebrating, setting a little push there from Montoya, held off Michael Waltrip, Jeff Gordon, and at least 10 cars involved in that last lap wreck. NASCAR still reviewing the tape as Kyle Busch celebrates here at Talladega and thanking the fans for what was an exciting race. We had the most leaders this season, 20. 52 lead changes the most, and these are the official results at least through the top 10.
Yeah, we feel real good about the top 10. Again, you see Juan Pablo Montoya, great run for him today in that 42 car. Denny Hamlin fights his way back to third, but you got to look at Brian Vickers and Travis Kvapil, great runs by them. And how about Casey Mears? Another Hendrick car out there, finally getting up there and running like you think he should, or finishing like he was supposed to.
With Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers from the Hollywood Hotel, and hope you enjoyed it. You know, you talk about great finishes here at Talladega. We're out of breath. I was
getting ready to say, did you see DW when they went up there and talked to him? That man and Larry Mack, they're all mic'd, they're all wore slam
It was
out.
as if they were
on the chip all day.
Driving themselves.
Exactly.
But Kyle Busch, for a young guy, you talk about how well, what a great block on the experienced Jeff Gordon, who was in position to make that move like he wanted to at the end and win again here.
A great block, but I still got to go back to that situation between him and Jamie McMurray. What about a great save? You would think these guys were racing at Richmond a week from now, the way they were beating and banging on each other at over 200 miles an hour. Great car control, and thank you once again for this new car, because I don't believe you could have done it with last year's car. If they'd hit each other like that, I think we'd still be wrecking over there.
3 Toyotas in the top 5. Brian Vickers, a great run for Red Bull, and Chris Devoto with Brian Vickers.
Well, Brian Vickers has certainly tasted success at this track, a former winner at Talladega, another top 5. Explain your day.
It was a long one. You got to make it interesting. You know, obviously the bigger mistake today is when I spun coming off pit road. I came out of the box and the official was standing there and he was kind of a far out. I guess he was trying to check both right sides on the 78, and I started to dodge him, and then the 20 went blowing by on the right side, and when I swerved to miss him, I just spun out. You know, it was really my bad, but you know, I obviously didn't want to hit the official, but you know, I'm really proud of the Red Bull Toyota guys. Nobody gave up. Nobody panicked. We came back from a bad situation, got a top 5. We had a shot at the win. If the caution hadn't come out in the backstretch, I really believe we had a good run going there, and you know, but I'm just really proud of everybody, and I think it's good points today.
Andy survives. That's what you have to do at Talladega.
Thanks, Krista. So we're 9 races through, Jeff, and still no Jeff Gordon victory, no Dale Earnhardt Jr. Victory, and no Tony Stewart win.
Well, the thing is right now, you saw that all 3 of these cars here have got the capability of getting to victory lane. But when it comes to Talladega, you just never know. We talk about all the different variables. It's definitely a high-speed chess game. As we see here right now, the 31 car of Jeff Burton, he looked like he had a pretty good day going. But even as our points leader, he had serious damage done to his car on that final lap as far as the wreck's concerned. But he's still leading the points, and I think that's the key thing, is he survived well enough to hang on to that point lead.
Such dramatic changes. In fact, it's just a 13-point lead as we still compile the points and the official results. But Kyle Busch moving up to within 13 points of Jeff Burton and that lead as we will head to Richmond and then Darlington. A couple of Saturday night races ahead. We'll be back here live in just a moment. Promotional considerations paid for by NASCAR holding its own draft here in Talladega tonight on Fox. The Simpsons, you'll laugh out loud. Family Guy a little later. And wrapping it up with American Dad before your local news. Well, how about Robbie Gordon? He had a good Daytona 500. Officially, the results as we tabulate, he did finish 11th here.
Right.
And actually, let's check in with Chris Devoto, who's with Robbie.
After running about, what did we decide, 3,000 kilometers over in the Europe Rally, Robbie Gordon rallied back to get to Talladega to do 499 miles and finish 11th. Wow.
Good run for us. You know, we do this stuff where we run the Baja 500, and we did Dover, and PJ's driven my car both times in practice, and came back and we finished 11th. That's a good run for us here. We finished 8th with the same car at Daytona and 11th here, so I'm happy.
I gotta ask, are you tired?
Not really. I actually got too much sleep last night. A buddy of mine picked me up over there. Ernie Moody picked me up, and he brought me back over here to Talladega and came out and hung out with the race with us. And you know, it's we had a good run in the Monster Hummer over there, and to come back here and do this in the Camping World Dodge is cool.
From Hungary to Alabama, Robbie Gordon, a great points day.
And a guy who likes to race, as
loves
does
to race.
Tony Stewart. And we're coming up on Richmond. That's the last place that Dale Earnhardt Jr. won. Now he's going to hear about the streak of 71 races and 2 years without a victory. He's hanging in there in points.
But he's going to a good place again. Again, I'm going to say it and say it and say it till the guy gets to victory lane. There's not a bad racetrack for Dale Earnhardt Jr. It's just a matter of everything kind of lining up for him. He's got the people. He's got the car. He's got the talent. Next week could easily be the week up here at Richmond because, again, we've seen him pull it off before. So, it'll be interesting to see how he kind of handles it this past weekend as he goes forward. But I think Richmond is a great place for him.
As we go through the unofficial results beyond the top 10 or 14, still compiling at least. And again, the drivers are okay physically, at least 10 cars involved. Kyle Busch with the victory. And a rough day for Carl Edwards. We said coming in that Roush Fenway Ford, they don't concentrate a lot on the restrictor plate races. 3 wins this year for Carl Edwards, but it was some tire or camber problems that affected his ride.
He definitely had a good, strong ride, at least early in the race right there, even though they did have that problem. So, again, I'm sure he'll be looking to bounce back next week at Richmond. Richmond is going to be one of those racetracks, at least the way that I'm thinking, back under the lights again, a lot like at Phoenix. These guys will be up on the wheel, beating and banging. It's a fun racetrack for a lot of these drivers.
All right, this is the best we can assess given the results, the points at the moment here. Dale Earnhardt Jr., third is retired. Look for Denny Hamlin. Each week he's continued to climb up. Harvick, who, by the way, finished 23rd, so his string of continuous running at the end of 53 straight races, the longest active. And Carl Edwards taking a hit, but still staying there in the points. And Jeff Gordon, who was just on the outside, hurting a little bit more.
Hurting a little bit more, but Juan Pablo Montoya, he jumps up there in that all-important 12th position. So again, a lot of people moving up and down this weekend as we get ready to head to that short track race next week. Now, here are the guys you got to kind of start to watch, 31 through 40. The guys from 31st back to 35th still locked in, but David Stremme, Ken Schrader, J.J. Yaley, Dave Blaney, A.J. Allmendinger still on the outside in that danger zone area.
The day started as we look towards Richmond, a place that Tony Stewart has had some success, along with, as you have said, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jimmy Johnson swept both races last season on his way to his second straight championship. And, of course, Denny Hamlin having some success today, leading 30-plus laps and winding up third. For Jeff Hammond, I'm Chris Myers, our entire crew. Wow, what a wild one here in Talladega. We hope you'll tune in for the next couple of Saturday nights after Saturday baseball. Thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox.
Love it when it's forward, love it when it's fast, love it when the leaders cross the pack is moving past, love it when they're making lots and lots of noise, can't wait to hear the W say. Boogity, 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 let's go racing, boys! Let's go racing, boys. NASCAR racing, boys.